Very good afternoon, everybody. Today is our first day of presentations for semester 1 students. In the morning, we had very interesting presentations on Renaissance and Restoration literature. In the afternoon, we will continue with the same from Chaucer to Restoration age, where students will make presentations on selected texts performed during Renaissance and Restoration time. Let us have a look at the topics on which in this afternoon session students are going to make presentations. Okay, so we'll start with Sagar's presentation on Shakespeare's Macbeth and Holinshed's Chronicles, from historical chronicle to tragic masterpiece. There should be a colon. You have put semicolon after Chronicles, not semicolon, but colon should be there. Mithil will make it on the great chain of being and the divine right of kings in Macbeth. Mulraj on fate versus free will in Macbeth, the role of the three witches. Now here, if you are taking Macbeth as a character, it is okay. But if you're taking Macbeth as a text, then you have to write in single inverted comma. So whether you want to say fate and free will in Macbeth, the character, then it is fine. If you are talking about the entire tragedy, then in single inverted comma. SIDDHARTH G. CHAUHAN on supernatural forces and the question of free will in Macbeth. SIDDHIBA GOHIL on Macbeth, the Thane, and Macbeth, the Regicide. But this topic is not clear. Macbeth, the Thane, and Macbeth, the Regicide. It is confusing. In such case, take help of generative AI and ask what is the better way to frame the title. Kruti on ambition and madness, psychological study of Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. Vanita will be making presentation on manipulation and persuasion, a comparison of Lady Macbeth and Milady de Winter. Sanjay on power and ambition in Macbeth, lessons for today. Ambition also should be capital. All key words in the title should be capitalized. Nidhi will be making on the tragic hero, Shakespeare's Macbeth versus a modern play, Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman. There is no need to write a modern play. A tragic hero, Shakespeare's Macbeth versus Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman. SANDHYA on Aphra and the feminine voice in Restoration comedy. There is no need to keep capital T for the. It is a connecting word, so that can be omitted. If it is part of title, then it should be capitalized. Otherwise, the should not be capitalized. Priyanka will be making on Aphra and Proto-Feminism, the rover as a political act. The rover is the text, so you have to put it in single inverted comma. Priya, the Restoration women, liberation and degradation in bands, the rover and Vickerly's, the country wife, Witcherly's or Vickerly, country wife. Radhika on comparative study of Aphra the rover, and Anirudh Roy Chaudhary's Pink movie. SIDDHARTH N. CHAUHAN on manipulated ideals, Dryden's warning to a misled generation. Okay, you want to see in context of Absalom and Achitophel. Again, there is no need to keep it in bracket, but you have to reframe that in context of Absalom and Achitophel. Mansi on manipulating the masses, Dryden's Absalom and Achitophel, and today's media politics. Absalom and Achitophel in single inverted comma. And the last one will be by Grishma on the revival of done through modernism. T.S. Eliot's influence on 20th century, reading of the metaphysicals. Okay, so let us start with the first presentation of the day.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sagar Chavda. My presentation topic is Shakespeare's Macbeth and Holinshed's Chronicles, from historical chronicle to tragic masterpiece. Here is my academic and presentation details. This is the table of content. The research question and hypothesis is research question. To what extent were Shakespeare's adaptations of Holinshed's Chronicle in the tragedy of Macbeth driven more by the artistic pursuit of creating a psychologically complex tragedy than by the political necessity of appealing to his royal patron, King James I? Here is the hypothesis. Shakespeare's adaptations of his source material in Macbeth demonstrate a synthesis of purpose, where the political need to flatter King James I provided the framework and opportunity for his dramatic innovations. The two motivations are inextricably linked and mutually reinforcing. Here is the introduction. From Chronicle to Tragedy, the making of Macbeth. In this presentation, we will analyze Shakespeare's Macbeth as a purposeful adaptation of his primary source, which is Holinshed's Chronicles. Our central argument is that Shakespeare's alterations were a calculated synthesis of artistic and political motives. We will demonstrate that key changes to characters, timeline, and the supernatural were dual-purpose innovations. They serve to create the psychological depth required for tragedy, flatter the political and intellectual interests of King James I. The main source for Shakespeare's play Macbeth was Holinshed's Chronicles. Every story has a beginning, and for Macbeth, it has its sources as Holinshed's Chronicles. The real king, Macbethard Macfindlech, was an effective ruler for 17 years. He killed his predecessor, King Duncan, in open battle, a common practice for the time. And in Holinshed's Chronicle, the main source of Shakespeare's drama, it portrays a man who ruled justly for 10 years before becoming a tyrant. Holinshed's narrative, the raw material. These are the elements that Shakespeare borrowed from Holinshed's narrative. The prophecy, the encounter with the three women in strange and wild apparel is taken directly from Holinshed. The murder plot, the specific method, killing a sleeping king and framing his guards, is borrowed from Holinshed's separate account of Donald's murder of King Duff. The history of killing Duncan is totally different. King Duncan was killed in a battle by Macbeth, not by any framing. Banquo is accomplice. Crucially, in Holinshed's telling, Banquo is a co-conspirator in the plot to kill Duncan. Here, Lady Macbeth is not the co-conspirator, but the Banquo is the co-conspirator. This is one of Shakespeare's most significant alterations. The divergence from history to stage. King Duncan, the character of King Duncan, was a young and weak king, and in Holinshed's Chronicles, he was a virtuous king. But in Shakespeare's play, he was a vulnerable, saintly king. It was said that he was the Lord's anointed temple, and came to his murder. History says that he was killed in open battle, with Banquo as an accomplice. But in Shakespeare's play, a treacherous assassination. Macbeth acts alone, but with his wife's urging, Lady Macbeth. The character of Banquo, a co-conspirator in the murder in Holinshed's Chronicles, but in Macbeth, he was portrayed as noble and loyal man who resists evil. For Lady Macbeth, a minor figure noted for her ambition in Holinshed, she was only portrayed in a very low manner, but in Shakespeare's drama, she was a central driving force of the play and a catalyst for the tragedy, who conspires against King Duncan. And the timeline of Macbeth was 17 years, and out of 17 years, 10 were good, and later 7 years were tyrannical in Holindshed's Chronicle. But in Shakespeare's play, the timeline is compressed, rapid descent into tyranny and chaos. So here the question comes that what is the main purpose of Shakespeare behind this divergence? The first one may be dramatic necessity. Shakespeare's changes were first and foremost the choice of a master dramatist. The three main dramatic necessity would be elevating the crime, creating urgency, foreshadowing the end. By making King Duncan a benevolent, saintly king, Shakespeare transforms his murder from a political act into a heinous moral crime, raising the dramatic stakes. Considering the 17-year reign creates a breathless, catastrophic, and atmospheric that mirrors Macbeth's frantic attempts to secure his power. Shakespeare alters Holinshed's account of the Dunsinane prophecy. In Holinshed, Macbeth is advised by certain wizards, while Shakespeare gives the prophecy to the witches, tightly integrating it into the play's supernatural architecture. And the main reason behind including witches in Shakespeare's Macbeth was to flatter King James I, who liked such kind of supernatural elements. And about reshaping of the cast and characters, Lady Macbeth, the catalyst, she is elevated from a footnote in Holinshed to a figure of immense psychological depth. She is the initial driving force who calls on spirits to unsex me here. In case of Banquo, by making Banquo innocent, Shakespeare isolates Macbeth in his guilt. Banquo serves as a moral foil, the man whose bosom franchised and allegiance clear, keep him from corruption. Crafting a tragic hero, a psychological study. Shakespeare's greatest innovation was turning a chronicle villain into a complex tragic hero. Internal conflict. The drama is moved from the battlefield to heat-oppressed brain of Macbeth himself. His agonizing soliloquies are Shakespeare's inventions. I have no spur to prick the sides of my intent, but only vaulting ambition. The manifestation of guilt. Shakespeare gives a physical and auditory form to Macbeth's guilt. He is tormented by the imagined voice that does murder sleep, and is haunted by the bloody gods of Banquo. And at the end, from beginning he was a brave Macbeth, but at the end he becomes dead butcher. And it was such a royal performance. King James I liked supernatural elements. He also wrote a treatise named Demonology, and due to this interests of King James I, Shakespeare was driven to include such kind of things in his play. The purpose of adaptation were mainly dramatic, to add depth, especially psychological depth, dramatic tension, and political resonance. And by transforming the raw material of the Chronicles, Shakespeare created a timeless tragedy about ambition and guilt. These are the references. Thank you.
My question to you is, in Holinshed's Chronicles, what role does Lady Macbeth play in King Duncan's death?
In Holinshed's Chronicle, Lady Macbeth is not a much involved and a kind of round character. She is just described in footnotes, but in Macbeth, she is one of the central characters.
So my question is, what is the role of the witches in this divergence?
The role of the witches is one of the significant role and purpose in this divergence, as King James I, in which rule Shakespeare did write his play Macbeth, and King James I liked supernatural elements. He wrote a treatise named Demonologia, and due to these political purposes, Shakespeare included witches, the role of witches. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is HELAIYA. Today, I am going to tell you something about on the great chain of being and the divine right of kings in Macbeth. This is my academic information. This is table of contents. My research question is, how does Shakespeare depict the violation of the great chain of being through Macbeth's ambition and regicide? Hypothesis: Macbeth's regicide disrupts the great chain of being and violates divine authority, producing internal guilt, cosmic disorder, and moral collapse. Introduction: The Elizabethan worldview was based on the great chain of being, a strict hierarchy with God at the top, followed by angels, humans, animals, and inanimate objects, which was believed to maintain order in the universe. The divine right of kings meant that monarchs ruled by God had chosen them. In Shakespeare's Macbeth, breaking this divine order leads to serious consequences. When Macbeth murders King Duncan, he not only commits a political crime but also disturbs the natural and moral balance of the world. The play shows how ambition and the desire for power can disturb both human society and the universe, reflecting Elizabethan fears about regicide, moral corruption, and divine justice. Philosophical context: Macbeth, not just as political character but as a philosopher struggling with moral and metaphysical questions. Macbeth's ambition makes him reflect deeply on the limits of human agency and the inevitability of fate. He constantly thinks about the consequences of violating the great chain of being. His self reflection highlights the tension between free will and predestination. Macbeth's crimes lead to internal guilt and external chaos. The play raises questions about whether humans can act freely without disturbing the divine and natural order. Demonic metaphysics. Uh, Curry explores the demonic metaphysics in Macbeth, showing how supernatural forces disrupt the great chain of being. The witches' apparitions and hallucinations are not just theatrical devices, they act as metaphysical agents influencing human actions. The presence of supernatural tests the cosmic hierarchy, revealing how fragile the divine order is. Supernatural elements illustrate that human actions have spiritual consequences beyond the political realm. Shakespeare uses demonic metaphysics to show how ambition, when unchecked, can lead to chaos in both heaven and earth. The worm of conscience. The metaphor of worm of conscience to describe Macbeth's internalized guilt after murdering King Duncan. The worm of conscience gnaws at Macbeth's mind, causing psychological torment and fear. Conscience acts as an internal enforcer of divine law, reminding Macbeth of his moral obligations. His guilt shows the moral consequences of violating the great chain of being and the divine right of kings. Shakespeare emphasizes that human actions cannot escape divine and moral judgment. Conscience ensures that moral law persists internally even when external enforcement fails. The reinforces Elizabethan cosmology where moral, natural, and divine order are interconnected. Birds and heaven. The symbolic use of birds, especially the martlet in Macbeth, Banku remarks the temple haunting martlet that the heavens breathe smells wooingly here, symbolizing divine favor and harmony in nature. The imagery of birds suggests that the castle and its surroundings are blessed by heaven, reflecting the cosmic and moral orders. Shakespeare uses nature and birds as subtle markers of moral and divine order, showing that human actions can disturb even the apparent harmony of the natural world. The contrast between heavenly imagery and violent reality highlights the severity of Macbeth's crime against both divine authority and natural law. Natural imagery in the play complements supernatural elements and conscience, showing multiple ways the great chain of being is violated. Sound and auditory influence. The sound of supernatural soliciting in Macbeth explores how sound and hearing are used to represent supernatural influence in the play. Auditory phenomena such as voices, and whispers, echoes act as tools through though which unseen supernatural forces reach Macbeth's mind. The witch's prophecy and hallucinated voices manipulate Macbeth's thought, leading him toward moral corruption and violent actions. The echoes and ghostly sounds symbolize the voice of conscience and fate, constantly reminding Macbeth of his moral downfall. The use of sound represents how the great chain of being is disrupted as natural senses like hearing are invaded by unnatural evil influence. Shakespeare suggests that divine and moral order continue to assert themselves through perception, guilt, and inner voices even after being violated. Conclusion. Shakespeare's Macbeth functions as a cautionary exploration of ambition, moral failure, and cosmic disruption. Through philosophical reflection, demonic metaphysics, conscience, natural symbolism, and supernatural sound, the play dramatizes the consequences of violating the great chain of being and the divine right of kings. The integration of this literature devices reinforces Elizabethan ideology, illustrating that moral, political, and cosmic orders are inseparable, and any breach leads to cascading chaos. These are the references. Thank you. Any questions?
My question is that what does PM Dali argue about the martlet?
He explains that Shakespeare uses martlet to show how symbols of goodness and divine order can be turned to upside down by humans.
So my question to you is that how does ambition conflict with the great chain of being?
Macbeth's desire for power makes him ignore divine law. showing that human ambition topple than natural and moral hierarchy. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today we have a first presentation day on paper number 101, literature of Elizabethan age and restoration period. So my topic of my presentation is fate versus free will on Macbeth, the role of three witches. This is my academic information. This is table of content. Now we discuss about my research question and hypothesis. To what extent my research question is, to what extent does Shakespeare Macbeth present the tragedy as a result of supernatural fate influenced by the three witches, or as the outcome of Macbeth's own free will and moral choices? Hypothesis. Although the three witches introduced the element of fate through their prophecies, Shakespeare ultimately portrays Macbeth's downfall as a product of his own free will. The witch tempt him, but it is his unchecked ambition and conscious moral choices that lead to his tragic proving that human agency, not destiny, governs the course of play. Introduction. Shakespeare's Macbeth is a timeless exploration of the human ambition, moral choices, and the influence of the supernatural forces. Central to the play is the question of the fate versus free will. Are the tragic events determined by the destiny, or are they the result of the Macbeth's own decision? The three witches as a supernatural agents introduce the idea of the fate through their prophecies, yet their role is deliberately ambiguous. The audience is left to judge whether Macbeth is a pawn of destiny or the author of his own downfall. This presentation examines the tension between the fate and the free will, exploring how the witches, Macbeth's ambition, and the moral choices collectively shape the tragic trajectory of the play. Argument for fate, the power of weird. The witches as an agent of destiny. The witches are linked to the Old English concept of weird, which means fate is omnipresent force woven through much ancient literature. Predetermination. This view sees the prophecies as an unchangeable blueprint expressing the principal power or agency by which events are predetermined, controlling the action. The witches are agent of the larger machination that controls the human destiny. Their magic is directly correspondent to the unnatural phenomena that occurs the night of Duncan's murder, emphasizing their control over events. Argument for the free will. Internal ambition. Macbeth's true motivation, despite the influence of the supernatural, the central tragic force in the Macbeth is on human flow, valuating ambition. Self-authorship of knowing. Macbeth emerges as the most powerful source of the supernatural and the author of his proper woe. His transformation into tyrant is the conscious choice reflecting his nature to transform. The Christian conflict. The play contrasts pagan idea of predestined fate with the Renaissance Christianity beliefs in the free will and the personal accountability, highlighting the moral responsibility lies in the individual, not with the prophecy. The witch, true role, agent of temptation. Witches as a tempters, the witches function as agent of devil, aiming to lead the Macbeth toward the everlasting perdition of his soul and body. Their prophecies serve as a bait, not a command. The moral test. Their supernatural presence presents Macbeth with a moral choice, a struggle to either seek God or to fall into temptation, and that becomes the devil's disciple. The act of choice. Macbeth actively invites evil by the eagerly demanding, "Tell me more." By choosing to listen and act on the prophecy, he exercises his own free will. Banco, the structure of foil. Proof of free will. Banco's reaction to the witch's prophecy demonstrates the failure is not predetermined. Although he receives the same predictions, he resists the temptation. Rejection of temptation. Banco consciously chosen to remain honorable, declaring he will neither beg nor fear your favor nor your hate. His resistance show that the prophecies are a test of the character, one of that Macbeth fails, proving fate alone does not dictate outcomes. Synthesis, destiny created by choice. Destiny is opportunity. Fate, the witch's prophecy, only creates the opportunity for evil. Free will as execution. Macbeth's free will makes the fatal decision to act upon that opportunity, choosing murder to accelerate events, fulfilling his own destiny. The tragedy is Macbeth takes hold of his future and fulfills his own destiny by choosing quickest, darkest path. The fatal consequences of the free will. Self-created destiny. Once Macbeth chosen to murder Duncan, he forget a new self-imposed destiny. From that moment, he becomes bound by the weight of his own action. Spiral of action. To secure his power, Macbeth is driven to commit further murder of Banco and Lady Macduff, motivated by the paranoia and guilt. He is trapped not by the witches but by the irreversible chain of the consequences he set in motion. Psychological ruin. Haunted by the vision of hallucination, Macduff's inner torment reflects his moral decay. His mental collapse become the ultimate punishment for his own willful and destructive choices. Conclusion. While witches initiate the events through their prophecies, the true source of Macbeth's downfall lies in his own moral weakness and unrestrained ambition. The play reveals that fate may present opportunities, but it is human choice that determines the outcome. Macbeth's tragedy is not result of inescapable destiny, but his conscious decision driven by pride and desire for the power. Through his moral lens, Shakespeare emphasizes that the individuals are the architects of his own fate, and that unchecked ambition inevitably lead to ruin. These are references.
Do you think Macbeth would still have committed the murders if he had never met the three witches?
Probably not. Which the three witches implants the idea to get in power into the Macbeth. That's why Macbeth commit to murder the Duncan.
Is Macbeth's downfall a result of fate or his own free will? Why?
Macbeth's downfall Macbeth's downfall depends on his free will, most probably, because the three witches plans only idea of to get in power, but the ambition of the Macbeth leads him to kill the Duncan. That's why free will, I think, most probably more important factors. Thank you.
Yes, maybe. આવે છે.
Hello everyone, my name is CHAUHAN SIDDHARTH. My topic is supernatural force and the question of free will in Macbeth. Personal information and academic details, academic information, table of contents, research question. How does Shakespeare's depiction of supernatural force in Macbeth influence, challenge, or reflect the concept of human free will and moral responsibility? Hypothesis. While the supernatural in Macbeth, embodied by the weird sisters and spectral vision, imitation, temptation, it does not annihilate human agency. Instead, Shakespeare portrays the supernatural as a catalyst that amplifies pre-existing moral flaws and ambition, lending characters to choose their own destruction. Introduction. The central dilemma in Macbeth, the supernatural serves as a catalyst rather than a controlling force. The weird sister awaken Macbeth's ambition and tempt Lady Macbeth, but both act out of their own free will. The witches prophecies mirror inner desire and moral weakness rather than dictating fate. Thus, the supernatural reflects Macbeth's inner corruption and the moral decay of Scotland, highlighting that his downfall stems from conscious choice, not supernatural control. Supernatural on the Elizabeth and Jacobin stage context. In Shakespeare's time, the supernatural was not fiction, it was fact. People across all social class, from commoners to King James I, believed deeply in witches, devil, omens, and prophecies. Key insight: the supernatural as a dynamic motive had a sancting and potency. All nigh incredible today. Implication from Macbeth: the witches were not just symbolic figures, not real embodiments of will for Shakespeare's audience. Their presence on stage invoke fear, away, and moral tension. Macbeth interaction with them was seen as a serious moral and spiritual strength and not just dramatic circuity. The Weird Sister more than just witches. Distinction, Middleton witches serves as occasional consultants for mischief can harm the body but have limited influence. Shakespeare witches originate deeds of blood and spark evil impulse in humans, have power over the soul, influencing moral choice. Key takeaway: Shakespeare's weird sister are both cosmic and psychological force. Next, the Macbeth music, supernatural suggestion through language. Insight from the connection between Macbeth and the witches is established through poetic and rhythmic echoes, not just plot. Example: Macbeth first line, so foul and fear a day I have no seen, unquestionably echoes the witches. Fear is foul and foul is fear. Example 2. After the witches vanish, Banco notes that Macbeth receives their prophecies to the self-same tone and words. Implication: the mechanics of temptation, how the supernatural works. It exploits ambition, which is held Macbeth with titles he already desires. Their target is vaulting ambition. It deals in half-truths. Their prophecies are technically true but misleading. They offer a false sense of security. Security. It reflects inner state, the supernatural vision, the dagger, Bangkok's ghost rise from guilt, conscience. They are prompts, not commands. It requires human action. The witches never tell Macbeth to murder Duncan. They only present a future Macbeth himself chose the bloody part to achieve it. The role of the witness rose as a political and supernatural agent. Insight from Rose in key but ambiguous figure who struggle in human and supernatural realms. Uh, he is observer and messenger, present critical junctures, delivering news that proper the plot. In Join Coins 2021 film, his role is expand, making him almost he is cast as the triad murder and is shown so observing private conversation. The heroism of reveal and downward spiral, temptation and choice, and Act 3 encouragement in evil, and Act 5 automatic and despair. Lady Macbeth, a different kind of soliciting. Lady Macbeth is a human counterpart to the spiritual verse in Macbeth, acting as a catalyst for her husband action through manipulation and psychological influence. Conclusion: the of soul, the supernatural as a catalyst and cause, tragedy of character, and final truth. References and thank you. Any question?
My question is, what major piece of evidence does the presentation use to show the watcher's early influence on Macbeth's language?
Macbeth language is first liner, so foul and fear. A day I have not a seen consciously because the which is earlier fire in foul and fear.
Another, you reply in the comment. Another
Okay.
question by Mulraj, write in the comment, you reply.
Hello everyone, myself SIDDHIBA GOHIL, and my today's topic is Macbeth the Thane and Macbeth the Regicide. These are my academic details and presentation details. The research question is, to what extent does Shakespeare's textual evidence support the interpretation that Macbeth's villainy was a pre-existing trait of his personality, driven by self-interest and fear, rather than a moral corruption caused by the witches or Lady Macbeth? The next one is the hypothesis. Shakespeare's Macbeth intentionally depicts the protagonist as an inherently villainous and hypocritical character, whose actions, from the initial plotting to the ultimate regicide, are primarily motivated by ambition and selfish fear of earthly consequences, not by genuine moral conflict or external influence. The next one is the introduction. Frederick Morgan Pedalford's article examines Shakespeare's Macbeth, focusing on the character's duality. Macbeth as Honorable Thane before Duncan's murder and the tyrannical regicide afterward. Pedalford argues that the character is cruel in tragedy. As action must stem from personality, he points that Macbeth was inherently villainous before the witch's influence, using textual evidence to support this view. The analysis dwells into ethical and psychological aspects, emphasizing Macbeth's hypocrisy, cowardice, and lack of remorse, challenging romanticized interpretation of the character. The next topic is the role of the witches. Pedalford asserts that the witches are independent, evil beings, not mere projections of Macbeth's mind, as evidenced by their appearances to Banquo, fulfilled prophecies contrary to Macbeth's expectations and their autonomy. However, they do not originate the idea of murder. Macbeth's startled reaction to their prophecies reveals pre-existing ambition. Internal evidence from Lady Macbeth's references to prior discussion and external clues confirm that Macbeth conceived the crime before encountering the witches, making his mind fertile soil for their suggestion. The next topic is the Macbeth the Thane, pre-murderer character. Before the regicide, Macbeth is portrayed as villain at heart, oppressing his subjects and harboring tyrannical tendencies. As revealed in his conversation with the murderers, Pedalford cites Lady Macbeth's soliloquy to argue that her description of Macbeth's milk of humankind is ironic and misinterpreted. She recognizes his ambition and cowardice. The letter to Lady Macbeth and her taunt indicate Macbeth first suggested the murder, aligning with his hypocritical nature and fear of consequences rather than a moral sculptors. The next one is hypocrisy and cowardice. Macbeth's hypocrisy manifests in his interactions such as feigning innocence after Duncan's murder and toasting Banquo at the banquet while knowing his assassination. Pedalford highlights Macbeth's cowardice. He shrinks from the deed due to fear of retribution, not moral columns. As seen his soliloquy, weighting eternal consequences only in terms of personal safety. This fear drives his action, contrasting with any supposed nobility. The next one is a lack of remorse, fear versus conscience. Pedalford argues Macbeth exhibits no genuine remorse, only fear of earthly punishment. His post-murder attributions stem from cowardice, not guilt, and later reflections envy Duncan's peace from consequences. No lament the deed. Comparison with her remorseful Shakespearean character. Underscore Macbeth's self-centered fear aligning with the Duke's word in Measure. For Measure about fearing heaven without loving it. The next topic is Macbeth the Regicide, post-murderer decline. After the murder, Macbeth's villainy fully emerges. His discard hypocrisy for a crime driven by fear of Banquo and Falency. Pedalford notes that banquet scene as a turning point where fate adorns him, leading to unchecked tyranny. The play's later acts depict his isolation and despair, laminating lost humor due to consequences, not crimes. This decline fulfills the tragic logic as Macbeth's inherent business leads to his downfall. The next topic is dramatic appeal and critical reception. Despite Macbeth's villainy, the play's popularity stems from the dramatic power of intellect dominating others. Akin to Richard III, Padelford changes Aristotle's view that tragic heroes must evoke more sympathy, arguing displays of human power suffice. The article critics romanticized view of Macbeth as a noble soul corrupted, explaining why some of the later acts are distressing. They expect internal conflict absent in Macbeth's fear-driven character. Conclusion: Padelford concludes that Macbeth was a villain before the witches, driven by ambition, hypocrisy, and fear, rather than fate or external corruption. His lack of remorse, fearing only retribution, defines his tragedy as an inevitable outcome of a selfish life. This analytical view contrasts with the subjective interpretation emphasizing textual evidence for a bizarre Macbeth, making the play a profound study of unchecked evil. These are my references. Thank you. If anybody has any question.
My question is, Lady Macbeth serves as a human counterpart to the weird sister by embodying and acting on their evil temptation in the moral world.
Sorry, but that's not my question. That's not my question. We can see that Padelford strongly argues that the idea of regicide was already in Macbeth's evil mind. The witches only gave a voice to his pre-existing ambition. They did not originate the crime itself.
My question is that does Padelford's analysis conclude that Macbeth ever feels true remorse or moral guilt for his actions?
No, Padelford argues that Macbeth exhibits only the fear of earthly consequences, the dread of being caught and punished, not genuine remorse of his sin against morality or God. Thank you. That's all from my side.
So hello, good afternoon everyone. Hello, am I audible? Okay. Hello, good afternoon everyone. Myself VYAS, and today I am going to present Ambition and Madness, a psychological study of Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, exploring the mind behind the murder. This is my personal academic details with presentation details. This is a table of content which I will discuss today. This is a research question and hypothesis. So my research question is, in what ways do ambition and guilt collide in Macbeth's mind, transforming him from a noble warrior into tragic figure consumed by madness? And this my hypothesis: in Macbeth, Shakespeare reveals how unchecked ambition and crushing guilt gradually shattered the mind and conscience, turning a brave and honorable man into a tragic figure consumed by madness. So I will start my presentation with this quotation, which I taken from original text. "Oh, full of scorpions is my mind, dear wife." Macbeth. Macbeth, so these haunting words revealed a mind poisoned by ambition and guilt. This is a content. So as we know that Macbeth is a psychological tragedy. So definition of psychological tragedy: a psychological tragedy focus on inner conflict of protagonist rather than external fate or politics. Macbeth is a tragedy of the mind. His downfall is not just caused by destiny or external enemies, but by his own inner turmoil. Second one is Macbeth beyond moral or political tragedy. Shakespeare explored the inner world of a man torn between ambition and conscience. Third one is the mental consequences of ambitions and guilt. Ambitions drives Macbeth rise, but guilt causes his falls. The fourth one is character transformation. As we know that at the beginning of the story, Macbeth portrayed as a noble warrior, but once ambition takes over and he it becomes increasingly isolated and paranoid and violent. As well as Lady Macbeth initially appears strong and manipulate, but after Duncan's murder, her suppressed guilt leads to sleepwalking and madness. Core idea: Macbeth's mind become the true battlefield where ambitions and guilt wage war. Beyond politics and power, Macbeth, a psychological tragedy, inner conflict between ambition and conscience. Macbeth's ambition pushed him to desire Thane, but his conscience warns him that killing Duncan is morally wrong. Psychological struggle. After killing Duncan, he immediately feels remorse and anxiety, showing the tension between ambition and conscience. So Shakespeare shows how thoughts and emotions can take over a person. Last one is destruction and destruction from within. Macbeth's downfall does not come from outside forces, but it comes from his own mental decay. According to Freud, the mind has three parts: id, ego, superego. In Macbeth, the id is a raw ambition and desire for power and awakened by witches and Lady Macbeth. The superego is conscience, which bring guilt, fear, and hallucination after Duncan's murder. The ego tries to balance both, but as the play progresses, it collapses, letting ambition overpower the morality. Jungian archetypes. Carl Jung suggests that everyone has hidden aspect of their personality called archetypes, like shadow, which is dark and suppressed side of ourself. The shadow represent darker and repressed part of the psyche. Animus is related to Lady Macbeth because Lady Macbeth suppressed her feminine empathy and sex me here to push ambition. The Lady Macbeth effect. Lady Macbeth's obsessive hand-washing after Duncan's murder illustrates the Lady Macbeth effect, a psychological phenomenon where moral transgression triggers a desire for physical cleansing. Her guilt is not only mental, but expressed through ritualistic actions, showing how psychological conflict manifests in behavior. Modern personality perspective, the dark triad. So, the Macbeth is embodies the dark triad traits: narcissism, Machiavellism, and psychopathy. So how it connect to Macbeth? So manipulated by Lady Macbeth is Machiavellian influence, willing to kill Banquo and Macbeth family psychopathy, and display self-centered desire for powers, narcissism. The birth of ambition. Macbeth's initial mental state. As we know that at the beginning of the play, Macbeth is portrayed as a noble, valiant warrior, and he loyal to King Duncan and devoted to his duty. And we also know that Macbeth's identity at this point is stable and balanced. His desire is under control, and the ego function is in harmony with his superego. But this balance begins to crumble the moment he encountered temptation. The witch's prophecy, the psychological trigger. When the witches greet him as then of claims, then of Cawdor and King Hart hereafter, they plant a mental suggestion that acts as a spark of his dormant ambition. The witches never instruct him to commit murder, but they merely mirror his inner yearning. And his thought, if chance will have me king, why chance may crown me? Reveal his early attempt to rationalize ambition even as he senses its danger. Lady Macbeth influence. Lady Macbeth pushes Macbeth to act by questioning his bravery. Art thou afraid to be the same in thine own act and valor as thou art in desire? So she overrides his hesitation and encouraging him to kill Duncan. So she acts as a catalyst, turning his ambition into action. Ambition become obsession. After becoming king, Macbeth's ambition turned into fear and paranoia, and his ambition consumes his morality, peace, and reason. So there, the tragic downfall. Macbeth became a tyrant but isolated by fear and guilt. So Shakespeare here shows that unchecked ambition leads to self-destruction. Lady Macbeth madness. At first, she appears strong and fearless, but guilt later drives her into sleepwalking and madness. She keeps washing her hands, crying, "Out, damn spot! Out, I say!" A symbol of her unending guilt and mental breakdown. Lady Macbeth persuasion. Lady Macbeth plays a very vital role in transforming Macbeth's thought into intention, and is questioning his manhood and courage. When you just do it, then you were a man. She acts as a catalyst, turning his ambition into action. Relevance of Macbeth in modern times. Macbeth remained relevant because it explored ambition, manipulation, morality, power, and psychological conflict, all in a universal human experience. Modern adaptation continue to reinterpret the story and showing that Shakespeare's works transcend time, the culture, ambition, and power. In modern society, similar patterns appear in politics, corporate competition, and social climbing. Manipulation and influence. Lady Macbeth manipulated Macbeth to act against his consent. Today, manipulation exists through peer pressure, social media influence, and advertising. Guilt, paranoia, mental health. In modern time, modern audience relate to stress, anxiety, depression, and guilt caused by unethical choices. Moral consequences. In current times, unethical action in business, politics, personal life can lead to legal, social, and personal downfall. Current adaptation of Macbeth. So, current adaptation in film like Macbeth 2050, Justin Kurzel, he highlights violence, ambition, and psychological struggle. Scotland PA 2001, dark comedy set in fast food restaurant, adapting the story to a modern context. In television shows like House of Cards or Breaking Bad explore Macbethian themes like ambition, betrayal, and moral corruption. Theater, modern stage production plays the story in corporate office and political campaigns or war setting, showing its timeless relevance. Conclusion, the psychological study of Macbeth conclusively demonstrates that the true tragedy lies not in a fall of king, but in a catastrophic collapse of the human psyche driven by unchecked ambition and subsequent guilt. And subsequent guilt, thereby proving our hypothesis that Macbeth's downfall is journey into madness initiated by internal conflict. The central theme which defines the play is a profound exploration of moral corruption is perfectly encapsulated in Macbeth's own realization of his perpetual torment. To know my deed were best, not know myself. These are my references. Thank you. Questions are welcome.
So my question is, what are the three traits of the dark trade and how they manifest in Macbeth's actions?
So Macbeth embodies dark traits, as I earlier mentioned, narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. So his obsessive ambition reveals narcissism. Lady Macbeth's manipulation reflect Machiavellianism, and his ruthless murders of Banquo and Macduff's family expose his psychopathic nature. If anyone.
My question is, what specific way do the themes of Macbeth remain relevant in modern society?
The play's theme remained relevant through their exploration of universal human experience. Unchecked ambition is seen in modern politics and corporate competition. Manipulation is present in peer pressure and social media, and the mental consequences of guilt resonate with modern understanding of stress, anxiety, and depression. Thank you. This is from my side.
So, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. This is BARAIYA. Today, I will present a comparison of Lady Macbeth from Shakespeare's Macbeth and Milady the Winter from Alexander Dumas' The Three Musketeers. I will also present comparison both ladies, and in this presentation we are not compare only both women character, but we are also learning that how literature use different kinds of power and ambitions. So we at the end we also learn that how these both ladies uses manipulations of their techniques. So these are my academic details and presentation details. This is a table of contents. So this is introduction. The characters of Lady Macbeth from Shakespeare's Macbeth and Milady the Winter from Alexander Dumas' The Three Musketeers stand out as two of literature's most complex and formidable women. Both women use manipulation, intelligence, and psychological power to influence the men around them and pursue their ambitions. These are research questions and hypotheses. So my research questions is how do Lady Macbeth and Milady the Winter use manipulation and persuasion to gain power through tools like language, sham, seduction, and disguise, and how are their actions shaped by gender expectations in their societies? So hypothesis, it is expected that Lady Macbeth mainly uses psychological pursuit and powerful language to influence Macbeth, while Milady the Winter uses social strategies such as seduction, secrecy, and disguise. However, both women ultimately lost control and face punishment due to societal limits placed on ambitious women. So, why compare them? So, studying them together shows different approaches to female power in literature. So, Lady Macbeth is the ambitious wife of Macbeth. When she hears a prophecy of witches, she immediately starts plotting and she pushing her husband to commit murder, showing that how she use psychological tactics. So, Milady the Winter is a powerful and mysterious female character from Alexander Dumas' novel, The Three Musketeers. She is an ambitious woman. She uses her beauty, demise, and social skills. She manipulates multiple people like soldiers, lovers, and nobles. So, tools used by Lady Macbeth and Milady. This table compares the tools they use. Lady Macbeth mainly uses words and strategies, while Milady the Winter uses social and personal deception. So, psychological versus social power. When we talk about power, it is important to see that how both ladies use power in different ways. So, Lady Macbeth use psychological power on Macbeth, and Milady the Winter use social power on multiple people. So, consequence and downfall. Both Lady Macbeth and Milady the Winter are powerful women who use manipulation to control others. Both lady faces consequence. Lady Macbeth, after pushing Macbeth to murder King Duncan, slowly loses control over her mind, although she appears strong at the beginning. While Milady the Winter, on the other hand, does not suffer from guilt. She feels no remorse for her lies. So, role of gender expectations. What happens to both characters because of their actions and how gender expectations shape their choices. Lady Macbeth pays the price through her own mind. She cannot handle the guilt of murder and breaks down mentally. While Milady the Winter is different. She feels no guilt, but society catches her crime and society executes her. So, relevance in modern society. This shows that society still struggles to accept powerful women, just as in historical literature. The stories of Lady Macbeth and Milady the Winter still connect with modern life because they explore themes that never disappears, like power, gender, ambitions. So social media today is full of people who show one face publicly but hide another reality privately, similar to how Lady Macbeth pretends to be a good hostess and Milady pretends to be innocent or religious. We also see politicians, influencers, or celebrities using carefully crafted images to control public opinion. This mirrors how both characters use manipulation through performance. So, learning outcomes. Understanding manipulation in literature. Lady Macbeth and Milady the Winter use manipulation to gain power in their respective stories. Different form of influence. Understand the difference between psychological pressure used by Lady Macbeth and social manipulation through charm and disguise used by Milady the Winter. Modern relevance. Connect these literary characters to modern discussions about powerful women, ambition and reputation, and how society judges female authority. So, conclusion. Lady Macbeth and Milady the Winter represent two powerful forms of female ambition and manipulation. She shaped deeply by their societies. Lady Macbeth uses psychological control through guilt and emotional pressure, while Milady the Winter uses social manipulation through beauty, disguise, and deception. Although both achieve influence, neither escapes consequence. One is destroyed by guilt, the other by justice. These characters remain relevant because modern society still judge ambitious women harshly and fears female power. Through them, literature reminds us to examine how society reacts to powerful women, whether with fear, punishment, or misunderstanding. So, these are references. So, thank you so much. If you have any question, then.
So my question is to you, Vanita. How are gender expectation important in your comparison?
Gender expectations. Lady Macbeth removes अथवा Lady Macbeth ignores femininity, while the Milady, the winter, uses femininity. So these are gender expectations. Another one.
Hello. Hello. Which character faces great consequences?
Consequences, both Lady Macbeth and Milady the Winter, both faces consequences, but Lady Macbeth feel Lady Macbeth Lady Macbeth punishments is mentally, and the Milady Macbeth's punishment is socially. So both are faces greater consequences. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. In today's presentation, my topic is Power and Ambition in Macbeth, lessons for today. Here is my academic detail and presentation detail. This is the table of contents. In introduction, Shakespeare's Macbeth tells of a brave hero's fall into tyranny, revealing how unchecked ambition leads to moral and social ruin. Its themes remain relevant today, reflecting modern pattern of corporate greed, political corruption, and institutional collapse also. Why this is matter today? Because same pattern but different name. We see Macbeth do many mistakes in the real world. Aaron executive thrones Elizabeth Holmes, FTX Sam's being fried, does the same mistakes. Unverse universal psychology, rationalization, explanation, moral blindness remain constant across centuries. Predicted trajectories, one is hero, compromises, corruption and destruction. Here is the research question and hypothesis. In research question, how does Shakespeare's portrayal of unchecked ambition and corrupted power in Macbeth illuminating ethical crisis in contemporary leadership? And what preventive lesson can a modern institution derive from Macbeth's tragic trajectory? In the hypothesis, we deal with Shakespeare's Macbeth demonstrate the ethical leadership failure follows a predictable pattern. Ambition divorced from moral constraint, initial compromises, explanating corruption, and psychological fragmentation, and done with institutional destruction. The nature of ambition in Macbeth. In the starting, Macbeth began as a honorable warrior, serving his king with courage and loyalty. He is the real hero for won the battles. In the ambition become dangerous when divorced from moral purpose and ethical constraint. In the article, Graham Holderness argues the play exposes ideological contradiction in power structure, not just personal flaw. In today's parallel, corporate and political cultures reward result regardless ethical method used. In corporate sector, we see that we have to achieve our goal anyhow. And political culture also, the political party want to win in anyhow. How gender codes enable corruption. Lady Macbeth manipulates Macbeth by questioning his manhood and masculine identity. Initially, Macbeth become king, but Lady Macbeth pressure him and question his masculinity. When you just do it, then you were a man, equating manhood with violence. Gerald Ramsay shows how manliness become perverted, separated from humanity. Initially, manliness meant courage, loyalty, honor, serving the community, etc. Lady Macbeth redefined it as ruthless aggression without moral constraint. Then, how one compromise creates a destructive cycle. Duncan's murder is Macbeth's moral threshold. This is the first murder that Macbeth done in the play. The inversible turning point. Will all great Neptune's ocean wash this blood clean from my hand? In the play, one murder require another. We generally see in the real world. We done one mistake and we have to lie 100 times to hide it. Banquo Macduff's family and countless Scottish nobles were murdered by Macbeth. Today's lesson, the first ethical compromise is most dangerous because it initially invisible patterns. Why power cannot guarantee safety. Despite absolute power, Macbeth felt constantly insecure and threatened by rivals because he knows that he done the mistake and they behave like unethical. The witches promises immunity. None of woman born shall harm Macbeth. Ba- Baron Lawrence argues Macbeth experiences escapism, violence, self-displacement from reality. In today's lesson, leaders who abuse power live in constant fear of exposure and retribution. In our life also, we done some mistakes and we always have in fear of someone knowing, someone watching us. When conscience cannot be suppressed, both Macbeth suffered devastating psychological consequences despite attempt to suppress guilt. Macbeth does murder sleep, the innocent sleep. Guilt manifests as insomnia. And Lady Macbeth also sleepwalk, compulsively washing hands out damn spot. Harvey Byronbaum argues the play explored consciousness and responsibility. In today's lesson, unethical choices carry unavoidable psychological costs that success cannot be offset. Then, how ambition destroys personal integrity. Richard Harwich argues Macbeth seeks the single state of man, wholeness and integrity. Each time, crime divides Macbeth between ambition and humanity, action and consequences. In today's lesson, achievement without moral alignment creates exceptional emptiness, not fulfillment. How unethical leadership damages entire community. Macbeth's tyranny creates cascading damage throughout Scotland. Nicholas Dungray connects this to Hobbes' philosophy of political fragility. Violence breeds violence. Tyranny destabilizes rather than secures power. In today's lesson, leaders are responsible for organizational culture and human cost of their methods. Then why unethical achievement bring no satisfaction? After achievement, kingship, Macbeth discover it's hollow and meaningless. He loses honor, love, obedience, troop of friend, everything that make life valuable. Without them, Macbeth is nothing. In the play, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this pretty pace. Profound nihilism. Elias Hossein argues power and ambition bring corruption, and corruption bring eternal downfall. In how we succeed is succeeded matter as much as whether we succeed or not. Avoiding Macbeth's past in modern context, recognize ethical drift. Small compromise lead progressively to larger ones. In the contemporary world, we done some mistake and we think it's very small, but it result we done some big mistakes also. Question opportunity requiring moral compromises, however attractive they appear. Then maintaining genuine relationship, providing honest ethical feedback and accountability. Design institution with check on power, constant and transparency requiring method. I dare do all that may become a man. Who dare do more in one? Define clear limits to ambition. Why this story repeats across culture and centuries. The progression, ambition, first we have ambition, then we get power. Then when we get power, we done some corruption also. Then destruction appears universal across history. O.W. Frinkins argues Macbeth is the weak man, made bad through weakness. Understanding how ordinary people become corrupt is more useful than simply condemning evil. In the play, fair is fall and fall is fair. Corruption inverts moral reality itself. In today's lesson, preventing corruption requires addressing both personal integrity and institutional design also. The enduring warning is, will we learn or repeat? Macbeth remains urgently relevant because it dramatizes universal human temptation. The forces destroying Macbeth, ambition, fear, and rationalization exist in everyone. We all have this ambition, we all have fear, and we all have rationalization also. His tragedy results from specific choices at specific moments, not inevitable fate. In modern parallel, demonstrate the patterns continued, relevant in political and business also. Here are the references. Thank you. Anyone have question, please?
So, my question is that how is the theme of ambition in Macbeth relevant in today's political or professional world?
In political world, many political parties try to come in power, but they many times do unethical behavior also. The people and they give money and food and everything and say that give us vote and we done something, but they do nothing.
So my question is, you say the first compromise is most dangerous, but don't people make small mistake all the time? Why is Macbeth's first crime so critical?
We all done some mistakes many times, but first mistake is the very critical. In the play, Macbeth know that murder of King Duncan is unethical and King Duncan is good, but the manliness and manhood questioned by Lady Macbeth. So he murder the king, and then second time murder Banquo is not that critical. And then the Scottish soldiers and all. Thank you. This is my side.
So hello everyone, myself Nidhi Pandya. I am here to represent the paper number 1 presentation on the topic of the tragic hero Shakespeare's Macbeth versus a modern play Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman. Now this is my academic details and the presentation details, and these are the table of contents. So my research question upon this topic is, how does the transformation of the tragic hero from Shakespeare's Macbeth to Arthur Miller's Death of the Salesman reflect the evolution of tragedy from the classical ideals of noble downfall to the modern reality of a common human suffering? So what is the hypothesis? That the shift from the Macbeth's aristocratic fall caused by the ambition to Willie Loman's ordinary defeat born of a self-delusion illustrates the democratization of the tragedy. That while Shakespeare portrays moral corruption within the feudal power structures, Miller exposes the psychological collapse within the capitalist modernity, together proving that the essence of tragedy lies not in the status but in universal human vulnerability. So the introduction. Tragedy, first of all, it was given by the Aristotle, the definition. Tragedy has transformed dramatically from the ancient Greece to the modern America. While Aristotle established rules centered on the noble hero, Shakespeare expanded these boundaries and the Miller shattered them from completely. Understanding how Macbeth and the Willy Loman represent different tragic tradition help us recognize that the suffering transcends social class. This comparison reveals how the tragedy remains our most powerful tool for the examining the human weaknesses and their follies and the nature and the societal values across the centuries. So Macbeth is the noble tragic hero. Macbeth's tragedy warns against the ambition divorced from the morality, as the Scottish general and his high position amplify his false devastation. Shakespeare shows that how the power corrupts all the states, and absolutely when the moral boundaries are the dissolved. Today we witness similar patterns into the corporate scandals and the political corruption. Macbeth's haunted conscience and the ultimate isolation, which are the most powerful facts into this, are the which shows that the success built on the betrayal creates internal torment far worse than the external failure. Now, Willy Loman as the common man, as the tragic hero. Willy Loman's tragedy resonates because we recognize ourselves into him. He chases the American dream. We think that we are into himself. Now, what matters more than hard work? Only to discover the system discards him when his usefulness ends. Miller demonstrates that common people experience suffering as profound as the king. When the audience first saw this play, and ground man weeping and recognizes that their own potential futures in the Willy's tragic fate. Now the comparison between the tragic flaws, there are the ambition versus the delusion. Both hero possesses the qualities that could be virtues but become the fatal flaws. Macbeth's ambition initially drives military success. Willy Loman's optimism sustains him through the hardship. Their refusal to compromise or the self-examine transform the strengths into the weakness. Now this mirror contemporary challenges that where the confidence becomes the arrogance or the persistence becomes the stubbornness. Recognizing when to adapt the separate sustainable success from tragic downfall into the any era, which shows that any part of the period can have the tragic hero of any time. Now what are the social contexts? Kingdom versus the capitalism. The environment destroying these heroes differ vastly but function similarly. Macbeth's Scotland judges worth through the power and the lineage. Willy's America measures value through productivity and the profit. Both systems discard those who transgress boundaries or lose utility. Understanding this parallel reveals how the economical structure, whether the medieval or modern, can dehumanize the individuals. Contemporary workers facing the adolescence through the automation experience Willy's nightmare when he realizes that. Now, what are the downfall? What are the parts of the downfall? That are the peripecia and the agnoresis. Aristotle identified these structure elements as the tragedy essence, which are the most important. Both heroes experience fortune's reversal when the reality shatters their beliefs. Macbeth trusted the supernatural promises and the Willy trusted the American dream guarantee. Their delayed recognition or the failure to recognize at all intensify their tragedy. We watch helplessly as awareness arrives too late, and it also arrives to us. This teaches the vital importance of the questioning our assumption before the circumstances force painful revelation upon us. Now the role of the family and relationship upon these two heroes. Family relationship magnifies both heroes' tragedy most importantly. Why the Lady Macbeth complicity access led the Macbeth's moral collapse. Linda's enabling the prevents Willy's reality check. The children suffer collateral damage. This mirrors modern families where the ambition destroy the marriages and the parental experience crash the children also. The play suggests that the authentic love requires honest confrontation, not the blind support. Enabling the dysfunction, however well intentioned, ultimately betray those we love the most. And the death and catharsis, arousing the pity and fear. This tragic death fulfilled Aristotle's purpose despite different social contexts. Macbeth's violent end and the Willy's suicide both prompt reflection on the vested potential. We pity that they're suffering while fearing similar fates. This emotional workout safely experiencing the devastating loss purges our own anxieties. When the audience wept at the death of the salesman at the premiere, they demonstrated the tragedy enduring power to process collective fears through the individual story. It can be also seen into the language and common language of the Willy Loman's dialogues and into the language as the soliloquy of the Macbeth also. So now the conclusion. Macbeth and Willy Loman reveals that tragedy's remarkable is adaptability. Shakespeare and Miller, separated by the centuries and continents, but illuminate how ambition and self-deception destroy the lives, whether examining the medieval Scotland or a modern Brooklyn. Tragedy remains our most powerful tool for the understanding human suffering. These plays survive because they are giving us the timeless question about dignity, success, what makes life meaningful beyond the power or the profit. So now these are the learning outcome from my presentation, and these are the references which from I have taken my fully presentation. So thank you everyone. If anyone have questions, they can ask.
So my question is that if Macbeth and Willy Loman were alive today, how might their tragedies look?
Macbeth might be a modern politician, and the Willy Loman might be a worker who is working into a factory, they will be both crushed by their ambition and will also lead to a tragic fall. And they will also face the same problems and the same downfall they had faced into their work of the Millers and the Shakespeares. This will be their conclusion of into this life also.
My question is, how do both play fulfill the classical purpose of tragedy by arousing pity and fear, leading to catharsis?
So the both plays really fulfill the classical potential and the purpose by evoking the pity and fear because the Macbeth was vested potential and Willy Loman's the misguided dreams because they mirror the instability of ourself. We know that we see ourselves into the Willy Loman, and that is we feel pity and fear for both of them as they are corrupted by the ambition and societal pressure. So this is from my side. Thank you everyone.
Hello everyone. Myself Sandhya Aphra today I am present Aphra and the feminine voice in the restoration comedy. These are my academic details and presentation details. Research question: how does Aphra use the rover to construct and assert a distinctly feminine voice within the male-dominated world of restoration comedy? Hypothesis: Aphra The Rover defines restoration comedy by replacing the traditional male libertine perspective with a self-aware, articulate, feminine voice that challenges partial power and celebrates women's wit, energy, and emotional depth. These are the table of content. Introduction: Aphra was born in 1640. She is a first female. She is a first professional female women playwrights in English literature at a time when women were expected to be silent and obedient. Ben made her living through her words, a revolutionary act in itself. Her most famous play, The Rover, gave women's characters who could think, speak, and desire freely. As Virginia Woolf later said, all women together out to let flowers fall upon the tomb of Aphra Baines. That lines capture what Baines accomplished. She gave women a literary voice that still echoes today. Restoration context: Ben wrote during the Restoration period after 1660, when King Charles II reopened the theatres. The age celebrate pleasure, wit, and sexual freedom, but only for men. Women appeared on stage for the first time in a play written by men. They were often treated as an object of desire. Ben changed that. She used the some comic stage to let women speak for themselves, mocking of double standards of her society and exposing the inequality hidden beneath the glamour of restoration life. Ben's roles as a female playwright. As England's first professional women writer, Ben faced enormous criticism. Male critics called her immoral simply because she wrote about love and sexuality from a women's perspective. But Ben boldly defended her rights of writer, claiming that she had a masculine part of the poet in me. Through her plays, she declares that clarity has no gender, and that a woman's mind and imagination are just as sharp as a man's. Her success opened the door for generations of women writers after her. The feminine voice in the rover. The rover, Ben creates heroines who talk, tease, and take charge of their own faith. Set during Carnival, a time of max and freedom, the play allows women to breathe the rules of a society. Characters like Helena and Florinda express curiosity, patience, and intelligence. When Helena says, "I'll see what mischief love has done to other virgin before I die," she turns the usual image of silent women upside down. Ben's women are not a victim; they are witty and self-aware, the true voice of a restoration comedy. Uh, Helena and Angelica, two female women voice. Helena and Angelica in the rover represent two sides of female experience in a male-dominated world. Helena is a witty, bold, and curious. She uses humor and intelligence to challenge male authority and claim her own freedom. Angelica Bianca Cotson, how the emotional reality behind that freedom. She has power through beauty, yet suffer when she loves sincerely. When used, both women to reveal how society limits women's choice. One rebels with wit and other with emotions. Together, they give voice to women desire, intellect, and vulnerability, the full spectrum of the feminine voice in restoration comedy. Ben's message and legacy. Through the rover and her other plays, Aphra Ben reshaped the comedy of her age, where male writers glorified libertine men. Ben celebrated clever and courageous women. She exposed male hypocrisy and dominated that women be see as a thinking, feeling, and individuals. Although many in her time mocked her, history now honors her as a pioneer of feminist literature. As Virginia Woolf wrote, Ben earned women the right to speak their minds. Afra Ben's voice still speaks to us, remind us that art is a freedom and that a woman's voice once heard can never again be silenced. Conclusion: Afra Ben gave women something truly evolutionary, the right to speak, to desire, and to be heard through characters like Helena and Angelica. She transformed restoration comedy into a space where women could express its wit, emotions, and independence. Her plays boldly challenges that silence imposed on women and exposed the double standard of her society. Through criticized in her time, Ben's courage and creativity opened the path for fortune women writers and thinkers. Today, she stands as a lasting symbol of female strength and artistic freedom, a writer who turns her voice into power and made the voice echo through the century. These are the references. Thank you. If anyone any questions?
My question to you is what kind of challenges did Afra Ben face as a woman playwright?
Okay. She is criticized that she is immoral and unfeminine for writing in about love and love and sexuality for only female point of view.
In what way does the rover reflect Ben's feminist idea?
Uh, in presents women like Helena and Angelica, who speak mind and desire freely and question social re- social recklessity on women. Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
Entire.
Okay, done. Hello. So, hello everyone. Good afternoon. So, today I am Priyanka Nakrani, and today I am going to present Aphra Benz and Proto-Feminism, the rover as a political act. This is my academic and presentation details. This is table of content, and let's start with introduction. Aphra Ben was one of the first English women to earn a living through writing and true pioneer in literature. She wrote plays, poetry, novel, and even worked as spy for King Charles II. Her most famous play, The Rover, is restoration comedy with deeper feminist and political meaning. Ben gives women a voice in male-dominant society through her characters' wit, intelligence, and agency. Her writing challenges patriarchy, sexual double standards, and social inequality. Writing itself was a politic act for Ben. By publishing plays as a woman, she claimed intellectual, social, and financial freedom. Scholars called her a proto-feminist because she defended women's right to speak, love, and choose long before feminism. एक minute, become a formal movement. So the research question is, how does The Rover by Aphra Ben uses its story and characters to question traditional beliefs about women's role, and can those choices be seen as early feminist act or political statement? The hypothesis is Aphra Ben's play The Rover uses its female character and their struggle for agency to openly challenge the norms of patriarchal society, making the plays as early example of proto-feminist political theater. So, historical and literary context is restoration in England. So, the monarchy was restored under King Charles II. After Puritan rules, society embraced pleasure, theater, and social life, but moral codes were still strict for women. And theater in restoration, playhouses reopened, introduction of women actor on stage, first time in England theater history, and restoration comedy emphasized wit, sexual humor, and social satire. Women's role in this play, social expectations like obedience, chastity, and domesticity. Public voice was limited, writing or acting was often criticized. Aphra Ben challenged this norm, claiming space for women in literature and theater. Aphra Ben, professional writer and proto-feminist significance. So, firstly, we have to know that what is proto-feminism. Proto-feminism is when people fought for a women right before feminism had come. So her career highlights is first English woman to earn her living through writing plays, poetry, and fiction. Major works: The Rover, love letter between nobleman and his sister Orinoco, and faced criticism and moral attacks for her bold themes, yet continue publishing fearlessly. Proto-feminism significance: give voice and agency to women, challenging gender and stereotypes. Her female character expresses desire, wit, and independence, and anticipated later feminist through by questioning patriarchal power and sexual double standards. Her narrator reverses the male gaze, showing women as thinker and observer. Writing as a political act. Writing publicly made Benz a political rebel in male-dominant culture. use literature to critique patriarchy, colonialism, and inequality, assert that women's creativity and intelligence belongs in public life. So here is the overview of Rover and Rover's women characters. The plot summary is first sets in Nepal during Carnival, and the Bennett is comic surface. The play exposes patriarchal power, sexual violence, and female vulnerability, and the festive words of diagnosis mirror to the blurred moral boundaries between desire, freedom, and danger. Key female characters like Florinda, Helena, Angelica, Bianca, and carnival and disgust motif is carnival symbolized temporary inequality, gender and class hierarchies dissolved, letting women act freely. And disgust becomes a feminist tool. Women manipulated appearance to claim subjectivity. However, Pinocchio notes that his freedom is fragile. The same words that allow play also normalize sexual subversion. The feminist and political theme and subversion in the Rover. Feminist theme is female agency and sexual autonomy. Like Shelzigi discussed how Ben's female character in patriarchy, Helena and Angelica, assert control over the sexual and romantic choice, challenges the passive roles typically assigned to women in restoration society. And the sexual autonomy is the play portrays women as autonomous being with their own sexual desire and subverting the era's norms that often depicted female sexuality as possessive or solely for male pleasure. And political theme is critique of patriarchy and social commentary. And subversion is gender role and relevance, masculine and feminine interplay. The critical reception and legacy and final reflection is critical reception is restoration success. Upon in debate in 1877, the Rover was hit praised for its lively character and witty diagnosis. Feminist reinterpretation is modern critique highlights Ben's norms portrayal of women challenges traditional gender role. And the complex liability nation is the play's exploration of sexual freedom is both celebrated and critiqued for its moral ambiguity. Legacy is pioneer female playwright. She is pioneer female playwright. Ben's success paved that way of future women in literature, earning her a place in literary history. The culture relevance is the Rover continued to be studied and performed, reflecting its enduring appeal and relevance. Literary influences, the play themes and characters have influenced countless work in the comedy genre. And the final reflection is Ben's the Rover in vibrant tempestry of wit and desire, social commentary where the boundaries of liberty and license blur, inviting audience to reflect the complexities of human nature. This is the quote which I taken from the real book Aphra Ben's The Rover, and this is my learning outcome from my presentation, and these are the references. So if you have any question, feel free to ask.
Priyanka, my question to you is, can the Rover be seen as a political act against patriarchy?
Yes, of course, because Ben uses the play to question men's control over women and highlights women's rights to independence. Writing this as a woman in 16 was itself a bold political act.
So my question to you, Priyanka, how does Rover show early feminist idea?
Okay. It shows women like Helena, Florinda, and we can also put in one character, Angelica, making their own choices and standing up to men. Ben gives them freedom to speak, to act, to think about, and having an own opinion. So showing that women can think and decide for themselves also. So this is from my side. Thank you so much, guys.
So good afternoon, everyone. Myself Priya Rathod. Today I am going to discuss about the restoration, women, liberation, and degradation in Aphra Ben's The Rover and William Wycherley's The Country Wife. These are my academic details and presentation details. This is the table of contents. So my research question is that to what extent did the gender of the playwright determine whether restoration comedy achieved female liberation through agency or reinforced female degradation through satire, as demonstrated by a comparative analysis of Aphra Ben's The Rover and William Wycherley's The Country Wife? Hypothesis: Aphra Ben's The Rover definitively liberates the representation of women by foregrounding female agency and self-determination. Helena, while William Wycherley's The Country Wife primarily employs the degradation and the victimization of women as a satirical tool to critique the hypocrisy and failures of male-dominated society. So, introduction. Restoration comedy marked a decisive break from Puritan austerity, ushering in an era of theatrical freedom and open discussion surrounding sex, marriage, and female roles. The return of the monarchy under Charles II revived the theatre, introducing radical invocation of family actors on the English stage for the first time. However, this newfound openness presented a double-edged sword. While it offered opportunities for female liberation through frank explanation, it stimulantly risked the degradation of women through objectification. Scholars have observed that the period's sexual politics created a complex space after patriarchy, yet this space remained precarious and conditional. Within this context, the comparison between Aphra Ben as a rare female playwright, and William Wycherley, a prominent male satirist, revealed the contrasting ways in which restoration comedy represented women oscillating between empowerment and exploitation. The restoration context and comedy's role. The restoration of Charles II introduced a new French-influenced theatre focused on satire and sexual intrigue, centrally featuring female actors for first time. This theatre became a battleground for societal norms, satiring marriage and reputation. Playwrights like Wycherley offered clinical critics, while Aphra Ben, the first professional female playwright, provided a unique and sympathetic perspective on female desire. The liberation through Ben, volatile female agency in The Rover. Rover, Aphra as the woman writer crafted women who were remarkably proactive. Helena, in particular, embodies liberation by choosing her path despite societal constraint. She weaponizes wit and mobility to secure her future. This depiction is crucial as it suggests that women's fulfillment can lie in the pursuit of self-defined happiness, a concept that still resonates powerfully in contemporary feminist discussion about autonomy. Degradation in Wycherley, the commodity of the woman in the country wife. Wycherley's critique of male hypocrisy paradoxically ends up dehumanizing women. Marjorie Pinchwife's limited agency serves only to highlight the absurdity of male jealousy, not to advocate for her freedom. The play's enduring problem is its relevance on sexual objectification for her, its humor. Comparing agency, Helena versus Marjorie Pinchwife. Comparing these two figures clearly illustrate the genre's duality. Helena's goal is self-determination, while Margie's is simply experience. Margie's goal is simply experience. Ben's world allows for female victory on female terms, while Wycherley's confines women within a rigid social economy where their actions are always judged through patriarchal lens. In the modern era, recognizing the difference between the true agency and more reaction within the restrictive systems. The language of liberation, overt versus covert sexuality. The way of the language is employed fundamentally different. Ben empowers her women through direct, confident speech about their bodies and desires, while Wycherley straps his women in a web of coded language and reputation management. When we look at the modern communication, the ability of articulate desire honestly versus being the subject of gossip and innuendo remains a powerful marker of social and personal liberation. The role of the rake, Wilmore versus Horner. The rake alignment is critical. Wilmore, for all his swagger, is eventually tamed by a powerful woman, a liberating trope. Horner, controversially, is a successful sexual parasite who is never truly exposed or punished. A profoundly degrading resolution for the female characters he abuses. This contrast highlights the authorial intent, empowerment in Ben, and the cynical, often cruel satire in Wycherley. The question of marriage and social control. For Ben, marriage is a means to liberation, and for Wycherley, it's an instrument of the patriarchy. This core difference illustrates the depth of liberation or degradation divide. Today, we still wrestle it with whether marriage is an equal contract or a societal structure, and that benefits one party over the other. Making this restoration critique highlight relevant to modern relationship dynamics and legal reform. Degradation, the unpunished deceit. The final unpunished deceit in Country Wife reveals the genre's limitation. If the male predator wins, the representation is inherently degrading regardless of the satirical intent. Aphra offers a glimpse of true liberation by making her female characters the moral and intellectual victors. Contemporary relevance. In conclusion, the genre's legacy is complex. We must celebrate freedom of Aphra freedom that Aphra pioneered while critical examining the misogyny Wycherley perpetuate. The text teaches us that literary representation is never neutral. It neither reinforces existing power structures or actively subverts them. Ultimately, Ben's work offers a more enduring and positive model for representing female agency and self-determination. These are the references. Thank you. If anyone have question, please ask.
So my question is, how do Ben and Vaishali differently use wit as a tool of female expression?
In Aphra Ben's plays, wit is a weapon of self definition and definition. And in Vicharle's play, wit is a trap, which is a weapon of trap. Aphra Ben's wit liberates, and Vicharle's wit exposes degradation.
So my question to you, Priya, what moral or ideological legacy to this play leave for a modern feminist criticism?
Modern feminist critics view Aphra Ben as a proto-feminist voice who foregrounded sexual and intellectual autonomy. Her heroines challenge patriarchal hierarchies while negotiating within them. Vitalis plays, though misogynistic, expose the mechanisms of female subjugation, providing valuable insight into restoration gender ideology. Together, both work frame the restoration stage as a transitional space oscillating between oppression and expression. Thank you. This is from my side.
Hello everyone. Am I audible? Am I audible? Okay. Hello everyone, my name is Radhika Mehta and today I will represent the topic of comparative study, The Rover by Aphra Ben and the movie Pink. So this is my academic details and presentation details. This is table of content. And my research question and hypothesis is, does society punish women in the same way for seeking independence and sexual freedom, whether that society is from the 16th century or the modern day? So yes, the
punishment is fundamentally the same. Both the 17th century play and the 21st century film show that when women defy strict social rules about sex by choosing their own partners or just by being out late and drinking, the main and the legal system will try to justify violence against them. So the underlying message is if a woman acts to free, society claims she has lost the rights to say no. So now let's introduce introductions. This comparison examines how two worlds separated by over 3 centuries and distinct cultures confront the universal issues of patriarchy, female autonomy, and sexual constraints. Aphra Bain's The Rover in 1677, a restoration comedy set during the Naples carnivals, satirized the male libertine ethos by showing the uh, pre- precarious position of women from the noble sister facing forced marriage. As we know that Florinda and Helena, to the high class courtisan selling her services as Angelica and Bianca. Ben uses disguise and wit to highlight how women are valued purely as a commodity and how male and entitlement easily morphs into sexual violence. So the Indian film Pink in 2016, a modern social thriller and courtroom drama, transport this critique to contemporary urban India. It centers on three independent working women who are pursued and dragged to court because their modern lifestyles, drinking, socializing, living alone, is interpreted by entitled men as a license for sex. The presentation will argue that despite the shift from the 17th century stage to the 21st century screen, both narratives exposes the identical and enduring gender double standard and uh, culmi- culminate in the powerful demand for the inviolable right of every woman to exercise bodily autonomy and have her no respected. This is about the playwright. As we know that Aphra Bain, and the movie title is Pink. Uh, so now let's introduce the historical and cultural context. The rover in 1677, Restoration England carnivals set during the Restoration period, post Puritan rule in England, characterized by a libertarian culture, royalist exiles, and new openings in theatre. So the Pink movie is released in 2016, contemporary New Delhi, India, and set in modern urban India, dealing directly with patriarchal norms, the tension between traditions and female independence, and the several societal and legal challenge of sexual violence and victim blaming. So we can see that comparative insight. Both works use their respective settings at time of license and modern legal systems to expose and critique the vulnerability of women and the double standards that define their acceptable behavior. So now let's move on the plot summaries and structures overview. The rover follows the romantic and comedic exploits of libertines Wilmore, interweaves multiple storylines of love, betrayal, and disguise. In the Pink movie, three women face harassment, legal drama, exposes societal prejudice and victim blaming. So we can find out some comparison between uh,
Both narratives explores gender powers dynamics. The rover uses comedy and romance. Pink uses courtroom drama and realism. So in this plot summary is set in Naples during carnivals. The play follows a group of English cavaliers in exiles. So in the Pink movie, the independence women Minal, Falak, and Andrea are accused of assault after defending themselves from sexual harassment by a group of influential men. The case goes to court, where a retired lawyer Deepak Sehgal and defends them, highlighting issue of constraints and victim blaming and gender bias in Indian society. So the next one is representations of women and agency. The rover women often portrayed as a playful, cunning or victims of male desires, limited agency within social constraints. And in the Pink movie, women assert their autonomy, challenge patriarchal norms, and demand justice. As we know that comparison shift from passive roles to active vocal agency. The next one is power masculinity. The next one is power masculinity and authority. The rover male character often exerts social, sexual, and economic power. Libertinism reflect patriarchal dominance, and we can find out male characters misused in the Pink movie, and these are the comparison. And social norms, reputations, and characters. So in the rover, reputations defines women's worth, honor, and chastity are pivotal, and women's moral characters law becomes a tool to refine justice. And comparisons continuity of sociological women involving from private morality to public legal frameworks. Use of disguised identity and subversions. In the rover, cross-dressing, secrets, identities, and deceptions create comedy and critique social constraints. Pink movie identity is less literal, and the comparison both highlights survival strategies within oppressive systems, literal versus figurative subversions. So this is the structures, violence, and social critics and feminisms. The rover highlights patriarchal oppression, sexual exploitations, and moral double standards, proto-feminist and undertones, and the comparisons, difference, limitations, and critics. The rover humors and romance may mask serious critic female agency limited by period norms, and the comparison different genres and eras influence how feminist critique and social commentary are conveyed. So comparative insights and thematic synthesis, central themes, genders, operations, power imbalance, sociological hypocrisy, women's agency, and both show evolution of feminist consciousness. These are the conclusions, and learning outcomes is the rover to the bold assertions of rights in Pink. These are the references, and thank you. Now it's your turn for asking a question.
So my question is that how does Aphra Ben's use of movable scenery and proscenium stage enhance the audience's engagement in her plays?
Okay, so your answer is Ben uses movable scenery to quickly transition between locations and the intimacy of the proscenium stage to allow characters to share asides with the audience. Next question.
So my question is, how does Aphra Ben's play reflect the key features of restoration comedy?
Okay, so your answer is the play incorporates many features of these genres, such as sexual intrigue, witty manner, and slapstick comedy. Thank you so much. This is from my side.
Happy evening, everyone. My name is SIDDHARTH CHAUHAN, and today I will present on a manipulated ideals guidance warning to a missile generation. Here is my academic details and presentation details. Further, here is the table of contents where we discuss about how my topics going on today's world. Here is the research question and a hypothesis. Primary research question: how does John Dryden's Absalom and Achitophel illustrates the manipulation of ideals, and in what ways can this be connected to the influence of modern media and digital culture on society? My hypothesis is the manipulation of ideals deficits in Dryden's Absalom and Achitophel mirrors the contemporary society where persuasive media, influencer, and political rhetoric can shape public perception, often exploiting noble intention for a personal political gain. Too fervent, too ambitious, too vain, he thought them truths which were but dreams. Absalom's downfall was blinded by ambition and idealism, twisted by Achitophel's words. It looks like today's world, a clear reflection of how noble intentions can be manipulated today. Here is the introduction. Dryden wrote about kings and courtiers, but he might as well have been writing about us, the generation ruled not by crowns but by cliques on social medias and other platforms. John Dryden, in his political satire Absalom and Achitophel, warned us, beware the fury of a patient man. While he wrote about kings and courtiers, his message feels surprisingly modern. Achitophel cunning misled Absalom, turning ambition into a rebellion, just as today. Influencer, viral posts, and social media trends can manipulate public opinion, then propaganda spread through pamphlets. Now it spreads through clicks. Dryden's satire reminds us that while tools change, human vulnerability to persuasions remains the same in now worlds. A warning as relevant today as it was in the 17th century. This is why our presentation is titled Manipulated Idols, Dryden's Warning to a Misled Generation. So let's deep dive into the vast ocean of the social media. Core idea, thesis statement. When we first look at John Dryden's Absalom and Achitophel, it is easy to see it is a sharp, witty political satire on 17th century England, a poem about king, courtiers, and conspiracies. But if we look closer, Dryden is doing something far more powerful. He is holding up a mirror of a human ambition to a manipulation and the way persuasive words can twist the truth. He is warning us that society can be misled when rhetoric is used as a tool for a personal gain. There our social media and the politicals do as now times. And here's the remarkable part. This isn't just a history. In our own world, with a social media, viral news, and constant streams of information, the same patterns Dryden describes are playing out today. Ambition, manipulation, and carefully crafted words still have the power to shape opinions, mislead audience, and ever steer the course of events. Here I embark one references. Dryden's Absalom and Achitophel remains a mirror to a political manipulation and human vanity to a transcends in historical frame. Dryden's work, according to Karthik, echoes the moral dilemmas of modern power and structures. Further, we discuss about context then and now. What the situation then and what the situation now in real life. Let's travel back to the 17th century for a moment. England was in turmoil after the exclusion crisis. Ambition, intrigue, and manipulation ruled the court. Achitophel used Absalom's aspiration for his own gain, steering events behind the scenes. That's now political contexts use social media for their personal gains. Now fast forward to today, the stage has changed, but the story hasn't. Instead of pamphlets and poetry, we scroll through tweets, reels, and viral videos. Politicians, influencers, and even algorithms shape what we see, think, and feel, guiding our opinions in ways we don't always realize. Dryden's satire wasn't just about king and courtiers. It was warning about how easily truth can be twisted, and centuries later it feels early modern. Now we saw the situation of that time. We also relate that situation with our times. Chaos then, king, courtiers, ambition, manipulation. Achitophel pulled the strings. Chaos nowadays, phones, tweets, reels, algorithms, and influence guiding us. Now our truth is more bitter than then. The games hasn't changed. Truth is fragile. Influence is everywhere. And Dryden's warning, it's still here. Further, from courtry intrigue to our digital domination. Here the picture where we see that time the people rules, and now how the social media and other apps rules the people. Achitophel, master of manipulation. Dryden's warning. A man so various that he seems to be not one but all mankind's epitome. Now let's look at Achitophel, the ultimate manipulator. Dryden paints him as a man so versatile and cunning that he seems to embody all of humanity in one. Think about that for a moment. Charm, intelligence, and persuasive skills all wrapped into a single figure. Achitophel doesn't just advise Absalom. He transforms Absalom's noble intention into a tool for his own political gain. That's exactly do now politicals and politicians for their personal gains. In today's world, this isn't far from what we see with modern media strategies or influencers who know exactly how to sway public opinion. Just as Achitophel plays on Absalom's emotions, these modern forces play on ours, shaping our beliefs, desire, and our fears. Dryden's warning is clear. Be aware of those who flatter and manipulate, because their power lies in their ability to make you act as if it were your own idea. Here also I am embark second references where I'll argue argue that Achitophel represent the archetype of a modern political manipulators who disguise ambition under the mask of patriotism. Further, we discuss about from pamphlets to pixels, the evolution of deceptions. Now let's look at the modern parallels. How Dryden's Achitophel lives on today. In the 17th century, Achitophel manipulate the words and persuasion. In the 20th century, his hires use screens and algorithms. Today, political spin, doctors, and media strategists play the same game. They craft narratives, not the inform but the influence. Influencers package authenticity for a profit, and algorithms quietly decide that what we believe. Even the news once pays for a truth now often divides rather than enlightens. We talk about the gaudy medias and another context. The faces have changed, the tools have evolved, but the manipulation remains timeless. That Dryden's warning echoing across the century. That's why the title of this slide is From Pamphlets to Pixels. Further, we discuss about twisted by influence when ideals becomes weapons. Dryden's Absalom begins as idealistic, a young man driven by justice and loyalty. But under Achitophel's cunning influence, that possession is twisted into rebellion. And isn't that still true today? Our generation ideals, justice, activism, freedom are constantly shaping and reshaped by digital echo chambers online. It is easy to mistake manipulation for a motivation. What Dryden warned centuries ago is what we're living now. A world where rhetoric overpowers reason and viral emotion often defeat truth. Where in the poem, Absalom's ideals is twisted into rebellion. And today's world, young people scenes for justice is often manipulated by digital echoes chambers and ideological influencers. Further, the Dryden's relevance, the messenger behind the message. Dryden's warning still hits home today. He tells us don't just trust the message, question the messenger. Flattery often hides ambition, and even good intention can be twisted when wisdom steps aside. Here I also embark one references that highlights how literature repeatedly exposes the manipulation of ideals to justify political authority. The gist of the presentation, the misled generation, truth lost in the feed. Dryden's warned of a generation misled by clever words and louder voices, and here we are again. Today our algorithms don't reward truth, they reward outrage. Charisma often replaces credibility, and what's packaged as a pure or authentic can actually be devices. Dryden's London pamphlets, once the tool of a propaganda, are today Twitter's feeds, fast, persuasive, and dangerous polarizing. His own and ours shares same dangers when emotions overpowers reason. The truth becomes whatever ends. Reflection: Absalom or Achitophel? Ask yourself, who are we? Absalom's noble, idealistic but naive, or Achitophel, clever, persuasive but willing to corrupt? Dryden forces us to face it. The truth isn't always enough. Power isn't just in ideas or virtue. It is in the story. Those who control the story control society. Oh, think about that. In a conclusion, the faces change, the game remains same. As we wrap up things, Dryden's Absalom and Achitophel not just a poem, but as a mirror showing how every generation can be misled by power and persuasion. Back then, it was the monarchy guiding the narrative. Today, it's time media shaping what we believe. The faces of manipulation may change, but the mislead, they remains the same. Remember this, because understanding is this first step to a seeing through the influence that's surrounding us. Rhetoric may charm, but reason must guide. Here are my references. Thank you. If anyone have a question, so they can ask.
So, Siddharth, my question is have you ever believed something online that later turned out to be false?
Yes, it is true, because it happens to all of us. Just like Absalom was misled by Achitophel's clever words, we too can be misled by what sounds convincing. Today we saw so many reels on our feeds, but what we see, what we like, what we not see, that is truth. So that is true. Another question?
So my question is that who do you think has more influence today, truth or popularity?
My whole presentation was on that I'll show that the truth is more important than popularity. So here also I think the truth is more important than the popularity. Dryden would probably say the same thing in every generation. Popularity often wins over truth, but the truth is popularity always overcome on the truth. So that is from my side. Thank you.
Hello. Hello everyone, myself Mansi Makwana, and today's my presentation topic is manipulating the masses, Dryden's, Absalom and Achitophel and today's media politics. These are my academic information and presentation details. These are table of contents, and this is my research questions and hypothesis. So my research question is, to what extent do the rhetorical strategies and manipulative functions of Dryden's mock biblical satire in Absalom and Achitophel serve as a blueprint for the current tactics and discourse of social media logic in modern elite political campaigning? And hypothesis is, the rhetorical and manipulative functions of Dryden's satire are directly echoed in modern media politics, where the meme functions as the contemporary equivalent of allegory, enabling politic elites to use disguise and simplification, for example, shitposting and clapbacks, to bypass formal political discourse and effectively sway the masses. Then introduction, from verse to viral political manipulation. Political manipulation isn't new, but the method may have changed from poetic verse to viral memes, but the goal remains the same. The presentation explores how political manipulation has evolved and remained fundamentally the same in its persuasive strategies. It argues that John Dryden's 1681 satire Absalom and Achitophel offers an early model of how language, rhetoric, and symbolism can be used to influence public opinion. Dryden's rhetorical methods such as satire, biblical allegory, and irony acts as a blueprint for today's social media logic, where memes and viral posts shape perception. In essence, both Dryden's words and model digital media rely on persuasion through framing, humor, and emotional manipulation rather than logical argument. Then, satire's true purpose, weaponry. Satire must be analyzed as a calculated weapon with a political function, not merely high art. It operates as a propaganda device of persuasion intended to influence public action. A Dryden's technique, known as formal straining, used meticulous art to elevate his propaganda, making it more effective than a simple political pamphlet or a polemic. It essentially acted as a court of chancery when formal legal redress was unavailable to address political injustice. Then disguise one, the Bible mask allegory. Dryden's primary manipulative tool was disguised through extensive biblical analogy. He recast the contemporary political crisis, the exclusion crisis, as the timeless story of King David and Absalom. This strategy achieved permanent validity and authority, helping the satire transcend the specific political alarms of 1681. The move was essential to avoid direct censorship while framing the political opposition as fundamentally weak. The allegory condemned them for seeking to draw the vulgar into their own destructive political errors. Then analyze attacking Achitophel, target character assassination via poetic form. Dryden employs the structure and language of epic satire to create a permanent indelible negative image of his political opponent. This is the deliberate rhetorical maneuver intended to define the opposition not just for the immediate crisis, but for posterity, solidifying a last negative public perceptions. Then strategic use of loaded language, the specific descriptive lines such as foreclosed designs and crook council's feet, sagar seasons, bold and turbulent of wheat use a combination of overtly negative and ostensibly positive but contextually damning. Damning epithets. This targeted negative language manipulates the reader's judgment by framing Shakespeare's intelligence and ambitions as inherently dangerous and morally flawed. Then manipulation of reader's judgment. By crafting this detailed and damning portrait, Dryden seeks to manipulate the reader's judgment by passing rational discourse, and rhetorical goal is not to debate policy but to emotionally and intellectually predispose the audience to reject the political readers by making him seem fundamentally weak and untrustworthy, thereby furthering the royalist political agenda. Then rhetoric, simple ideas for the masses. Effective manipulation relies on simplifying complex ideas to make them accessible to a wide audience. Then think strategist choice ensure his political message resonate with a broad audience by grounding abstract concepts in concrete worldly terms. Then disguise to the meme template. The campaign shift, Dryden's historical strategy finds its modern parallel in the social media logic that drives the current fourth era of political campaigning. The modern allegory, the internet meme function as the contemporary equivalent for the mock biblical allegory. Definition and form, memes are defined as multimodal artifact remixed using popular culture for commentary. Function or disguise. Like Dryden's biblical marks, the meme offers a way to simplify complex political conflicts and bypass formal critical discourse. Then a goal of influence. They achieve maximum influence by ensuring the political message is instantly recognized due to leveraging existing cultural language, and then easily shareable, drive and rapid mass distribution. Then modern tactics, shift posting and clapbacks. Calculated tactics. Today's political manipulation relies on specific calculated tactics like shitposting and clapbacks to drive engagement and narrative control, then elite adoptions, then strategic disguise. For example, there's a Maze Dancing Queen conference and Trust was a deliberate top-down strategy to use a viral meme to soften her public image and benefit from it politically. Then conclusion, the strategy endures. Dryden's historical strategy of using disguise to simplify complex ideas and sway the masses finds its direct contemporary parallel in the fourth era of political campaigning driven by social media logic. The internet memes function as the modern equivalent of Dryden's mock biblical allegory, defined as the multimodal artifact that is remixed using popular culture for commentary. The meme serves the same manipulative function as the 17th century mask. It offers a way to simplify complex political conflicts and bypass formal critical politic discourse. These are references. Now, anyone has question?
So my question is, how are modern memes similar to Dryden's way of spreading political ideas?
Both the political memes and the Dryden's satire use humor and simple images or words to shape complex political ideas.
So my question is, how does Dryden use satire to influence people in Absalom and Achitophel?
Dryden uses satire to criticize political leaders and a situation by using irony, humor, and biblical stories. So thank you. This is from my side.
Good evening, everyone. Myself, Grishma Lawal, and today I will be presenting on the topic of the revival of done through modernism, T.S. Eliot's influence on 20th century reading of the metaphysicals. So these are my academic details and presentation details, the table of contents. My research question focuses on how did T.S. Eliot's critical framework in the metaphysical poets, his essay, facilitate the revival of John Donne and the metaphysical poets in the 20th century modernist readings, and what interpretive biases did it introduce? So the hypothesis regarding it consists that Eliot's disassociation of sensibility thesis directly, which was catalyzed in the 20th century, where revival of Donne was done by reframing the metaphysical conceits as proto-modernist tools for unifying a thought and emotion, which led to a measurable surge in scholarly engagement and a canonical incursion post-1921. So before understanding what Eliot told about Donne and the metaphysical poets, we must know what is the metaphysical poetry. So the metaphysical poetry refers to a type of 17th century English poetry where key figures like John Donne, George Herbert, Andrew Marvell, and Henry Vaughan are the pioneers of that. And it is called metaphysical because it deals with deep, abstract, and complex ideas such as love, faith, the soul, death, and also God, but it is expressed through intellectual reasoning and unusual comparisons, what we now call it as conceits. So these poets, they tried to connect the emotion with thought, showing that feelings like love or faith could be understood through logic, science, as well as through philosophy. So now, what T.S. Eliot tells about the metaphysical's eclipse and modernist revival. So the metaphysical poets, which was greatly exemplified by John Donne, employed witty conceits, intellectual fusion of disparate images, as well as of dramatic exploration of love, faith, and mortality. And this hallmarks of 17th century intellectualized the ferment amid scientific and religious shifts. Yet, we can see from the 18th century onwards that the neoclassical critics like John Dryden and Samuel Johnson, they condemned them and they called them as fantastical or overly conceited, and they prioritized natural decorum over the intellectual play which these metaphysicals did during their times. So the modernist era, which roughly spanned from 1910 to 1945 around, laid its emphasis on irony, fragmentation, and disillusionment from the World War I, and industrialization was the key feature which catalyzed the revival, and T.S. Eliot positioned Donne as a precursor to modernist sensibilities, which transformed him from historical oddity to a model for poetic innovation in the English literature's history. As also Helen Gardner observes that this was a deliberate recreation, aligning the metaphysicals with modernism's rejection of romantic effusion. Then we can see Eliot's critical intervention in his work, The Metaphysical Poets. This essay was first published in the Times Literary Supplement and was later expanded in his Clark Lectures 1926, which marks the revival's turning point. He applauds the metaphysicals for their unified sensibility, where we can see a thought to Donne was an experience and it also modified his sensibility. So he had done three key arguments where he talks about dissociation of sensibility, where he argues that after Donne, English poetry just disassociated intellect from emotion, and a fracture was deepened by the 19th century reflective individualism. Donne's conceit, like he is blending cosmic and erotic in the canonization, prefigure modernist telescoping of images, which offers a remedy for contemporary fragmentation. Then he talks about the anti-romantic stance, where he is rejecting the romantic emphasis on pure emotion, and he is praising Donne's ironic dramatic mode as intellectually rigorous and suited to the modern crisis. And it is a manifesto for modernism because it calls on poets like Ezra Pound and himself as well to emulate this fusion, which directly is influencing imagism and high modernism. So post 1921, Donne's popularity very much exploded, which shifted scholarly focus from dismissal to emulation. So his influence on 20th century readings, where he reshaped criticism, teaching, as well as practice, and he canonized the metaphysicals as modernist antecedents. His critical legacy underpinned new criticism's focus on textual ambiguity, with figures like F.R. Lewis extending his views on re-evaluation, and he is calling John Donne a poet of the plain style for the modern times. A pedagogical shift is seen where universities have integrated Donne into their core curricula. In 1930s, editions like Hayward's The Complete Poems of John Donne emphasized Eliot's dramatic readings over the devotional ones. So here we can see that how much Eliot was in praise of John Donne. So it also occurs in the modernist poetry, like Eliot's Wasteland incorporates done-like allusions and conceits, like fragmented dialogues, which are seen echoing in the canonization, whereas Pound's cantos and W.H. Auden's work adopt metaphysical wit. So these three are very much beautifully blending Donne's work in their modern works. So this influence extended globally and they informed Latin American modernisms, though it sparks debate later on interpretive biases, yet they gained focus and good influence as well worldwide. If we talk about the link up between Donne's lyrics in Eliot's Prufrock about irony and dramatic self-consciousness, then the connection which Donne's speaker often use are witty, self-aware irony to explore psychological tension, which Eliot is brilliantly using in his concept of modernist neurosis and hesitation. And this revival also positions Donne as a precursor to Eliot's ironic persona, and it is also rejecting the romantic sincerity. If we talk about an example from Donne, that in The Flea, the speaker is dramatizing the seduction through a conceit of shared blood between two lovers. The line goes like, "It sucked me first and now sucks thee. And in this flea, our two bloods mingled be." So here, irony is lying in the speaker's intellectual play, which is masking his emotional urgency. If we talk about Eliot's link up in this, then in the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock, the speaker's indecision here mirrors Donne's dramatic introspection from, if we talk about The Flea, and the line goes like, "Do I dare disturb the universe? In a minute there is time for decisions and revisions, which a minute will reverse." Here Eliot is explicitly nodding to Donne and his notes using similar ironic questioning. So a scholar named Rix traces this influence and is arguing that Eliot here adopts Donne's prejudiced irony for modern doubt, and Merowitz connects it to Eliot's anti-romantic manifesto. In broader implication, we can see the connection between Eliot's the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock with The Flea. And if we talk about post-Eliot criticism, Clint Brooks is reading marvels to his coy mistress through Eliot's irony as a proto-modernist text, which was inspired by Donne, and feminist scholars like Barbara Livalsky challenge this male-dominated lens, recovering women's metaphysical voices, and is also critiquing Eliot's Protestant overlay on Donne's Catholicism. So in broader implication, this Eliot's revival highlights modernism's dialogues, engagement with the past, but invites the post-colonial as well as the gender critics. So to conclude this, I can say that Eliot's intervention revived Donne as a vital voice for the 20th century dislocations, which embodied modernism's search for coherence amid chaos. As also J.C. Ransom noted that Eliot made Donne respectable again because Johnson and Dryden criticized him, which influenced new criticism and beyond. And in today's digital age of fragmented discourse, we can see Donne's conceits remain relevant, and they are also affirming Eliot's role in bridging Renaissance and modern poetics together. So this topic underscores a constructed nature of canons, urging ongoing re-evaluation in the literary studies. I have also made a chart where I have very much included all the table of contents, which with their key focus for a quick understanding of my presentation. And this is my learning outcome, and these are my references. Thank you. Any questions?
By listening your presentation, I would like to ask you, are there any major metaphysical poets that Eliot overlooked or undervalued in his essay, or why might this be significant?
Yes, in his work, in his essay, The Metaphysical Poets, he has very much only included John Donne and he has worked on Donne only. Though there are more metaphysical poets like Henry Vaughan, which can be used to study about metaphysical poetry, and also Eliot's work does have some limitations because he focuses only on the metaphysical wit, the conceit, and the rare and raw movement of the poetry, whereas he has not shown feminist perspectives or some minor poets which might have been important of that time, but he has not overlooked upon that. Anything else?
So my question is, if a 21st century critic were to revise Eliot's reading of Donne, what additional factors might they consider?
If talking about the contemporary times, then post-colonialism, digitalization, also proto-feminism, feminism, these are the concepts which one can revamp and add in from taking inspiration from Donne and Eliot himself in their work, and they can work on that part. Thank you so much. That is from my side.
So that was the last presentation of this afternoon session. A very quick feedback to what you have performed and a few guidelines so that you can improve in the coming 4 days on which you will have various presentations. In the last one, we had good questions. Both questions were very well asked about who are missed out, which writers are poets, either metaphysical or other, are missed out. He obviously speaks negative about romantics. Eliot has deliberately spoken negative of the romantics to appreciate the metaphysical, but all metaphysical are also not discussed. Even the last one, now today, how do you see 21st century? So if we are rereading after 100 years, then what we would look at Eliot's way of looking at metaphysical, who looked at the metaphysical, who wrote so many 100 years ago, which was revived by him. This can be a good activity for your generative AI one also, that if you are Eliot and now you are rewriting your essay, then how would you like, how will you connect that with the generative AI's algorithm? Metaphysical poetries were like mathematical calculations. So it might match very well with the algorithm of the AI generated works also. Mansi also did well. She referred to one good article, though it was in context of, let me share the screen, in context of UK elections. You should have brought that idea in context of India also. In the previous one, that is Grishma's one, you referred to this article. Let me share a screen. But I was not able to open this article. It was asking for the payment like $27 US. So you can share a PDF if you have this PDF. This is by Cambridge University Press, Revival of Metaphysical Poetry. When I clicked on the link given in your PPT, I have found that it is coming here and the access was denied here. So if you have, you can share with me. The article which this one, yeah. Mansi referred to this article, Memes, a new emerging logic to 2019 British election, and how the memes played a significant role. So pamphlets to the memes and how it was. So this all memes are discussed in this research article, which gives the idea that now memes are studied academically also. And people do write a lot about the study of memes in quality articles also. So several such memes were discussed in this article, which was a good article to see how it is operating. Similar one was presented by SIDDHARTH also, Absalom and Achitophel, and in the same line, digital domination and how we look at the idea also. So how Absalom remains a young innocent fellow, allegorically the young people or those who are gullible to be easily manipulated by WhatsApp messages. It can be WhatsApp uncles and aunties also, not necessarily young people only, but even the older people who are more prone to those things. And that all works like Achitophel is doing that work. Achitophel is the one who is manipulating through that. But that is half truth. The complete way of looking is like the media, the role that media plays is not Achitophel's role. Media is equal to Dryden. What Dryden is doing is to be seen, that how Dryden is in favor of power, the king, and he tries to say that. So to prove that point, you have to bring out some good points of Achitophel. That has Achitophel done anything good? But Dryden is not looking at that, only looking negative side of Achitophel only, because he wanted to be on the side of the king. Dryden is a typical lapdog media, Godi media kind of a person. So we can see that I'm sharing a screen to have a look at it. This Anthony Ashley Cooper, who is playing a role of Achitophel, he also is the one who was responsible, actively playing a role in restoration of king also, and then even in Whig party also. When he has seen that the king is becoming more powerful and parliamentary democracy is required, he was in favor of Whig party for parliamentarian power. So keeping that in mind, we can see that he was the one who was for democracy rather than the king and other thing also. But Dryden will not look at him in that manner. He will try to demonize the one who is in favor of democracy. What Dryden is doing, demonizing the one who are in favor of democracy. That is what exactly nowadays also we find that people do that. Ashley Cooper then went to America and he founded a Caroline colony there. And today also there are rivers on his name, Ashley and Cooper. Two rivers are there in America, Caroline, America, on his name. Cooper River, South Carolina has this. So that way he is remembered in the history also. So it is not all negative only, but there is that. But how Dryden would try to say. So today how the media tries to portray the people who are in favor of democracy as they are a demonic people. That can be the connection there. Radhika, you have to organize your slides properly. Where is Radhika? Your slides were not organized properly. It was, you might have seen other people. Today we will talk a few about why presentations are necessary. So then you will see that. Priya's article also had one good article worth referring to. Priya Rathod has talked about this article. This country wife problems, how to stage Wycherley's classic play in 21st century. So this again is a good article to try to see that how everything can be connected in this. How it can be connected with the contemporary time. So it is good that you have taken many such topics where you are trying to see today also in context of restoration and Renaissance time. So here today, if you want to perform, then there will be a problem. Many like the people will have lots of feminist questions regarding portrayal of this all female characters. It won't be easy to do. That's how challenging it becomes to a dramatist to revive the old drama, or how they have to make necessary changes also. Priyanka had a good slide template, was well designed. You're talking about Aphra Ben's female characters. Gestor articles you referred to, but also use honors. Those who are not using honors, one nation, one subscription, Taylor and Francis articles, you also use those resources also, because this 5 days only you will use that. Then you are not going to refer to those content. MLS style you have to give. You are not given according to MLS style. There are no numbers. Some of you are giving numbers. MLS style, I think SANDHYA also has given numbers. MLS style has alphabetical order. It doesn't have numerical order. SANDHYA, you need to improve. Speech, practice more. Where is SANDHYA? You have to speak more loudly, clearly. So do more speaking practice. Nidhi also presented well on Death of a Salesman. Good slides were prepared. What you have to do, those who are not doing this, most of you are using good images also. Some of you are only bringing text only. There should be combination of both text and image. Now you have generative AI tool. It can give you the image the way you want it. Earlier we were telling students to search images. Whatever you can search, you can search. Now you can create your own images. If you are a painter, you can draw also. Then also it is good. If you are a painter, then draw it. But if you are not painter, you can generate it. So generate the image and use it. That will be a very good digital skill to learn slowly and steadily. Tables also can be found. Many of you are using tabular format. That also you can generate from AI tools. You have to refer to good sources. Don't refer to any study material sites. Study material sites, and that should not be referred to. Refer to this journal articles. Vanita asked good question to Nidhi. That was about how these tragedies might look today. In 21st, like today, if these are all Salesman is there or Macbeth is there, then the ideal answer might be that today these all things might be comedies. These all people might be very successful people. We are seeing the corporate people who do corruption, they are more happy. And those who are blamed of murdering some other people, they are climbing the ladders of power, and they remain in power for such a long time also. So that all things doesn't turn into tragedies, but they will become comedies. They are happy people. Those wrongdoers are rather enjoying the life there. Sanjay on Ambition, Macbeth. Presentation slides were good. Good resources also you used. You should answer also things properly. You used this article also that was about Taylor and Francis. I think this was in your, this one, your or someone else. I think I have seen this in somebody's presentation. But in your also, there were good resources there. This also is a good article, Ross and the Politics of Witnessing in Macbeth. Many of you, while talking about Macbeth, talked about adaptations. In morning also, we had a couple of presentations. This also is one adaptation, Joel Cohen's The Tragedy of Macbeth 2021. But this article tries to tell us that this film tries to take the perspective of Ross, who is a very minor character in the play, and he is a mere reporter. He is just a reporter. So here that angle is taken. The one who is a reporter, the one who is witnessing the thing. So Rose, the minor character, and the politics of witnessing in Macbeth. That is how this film has been seen, and this article also is a very good article for that. Vanita also did good. A good comparison with Milady Winter and Lady Macbeth. You are using scribed and EBSCO study material things. Where is Vanita? Avoid doing that. Use honors or gesture article that will add value to your. You will get new perspective also. That this new way people are seeing at the thing that we get when we read quality journal article. Study material site normally talk about general things only. So avoid that. When there is no name of the writer, avoid using that resource. In your source, there was one material where there was no name of writer. So that is not considered authentic. The name of the person should be there when we use any resources. Kruti also is numbering the citation. Yes, Kruti, you also are numbering. So you see that William Shakespeare, when you cite, it will be Shakespeare first, then William. Last name is first. MLA, I think you might have been guided from by semester 3 students. Okay? So remember that now you have to apply everything. This. SIDDHIBA also had good slides. Image and text combination was very well used. Okay, then SIDDHARTH G. CHAUHAN. This you need to improve your speech also. You have to practice a lot of speaking. So read your presentation 2-3 times in advance. Record your voice, listen. But the more you will speak, the more you will be able to read fast. Normally, you have to see that you are making presentations. You are not reading papers. If you go to seminars, you will see both the things. There are paper reading sessions. So where you go, take paper and read paper word by word, it is allowed because it is paper reading. This is not paper reading. This is presentation. So in presentation, you are supposed to speak orally. Slides are for audience, not for you. Slides are for audience. Audience ne bagasa na ave, unge na chadi je એટલે કંઈક ચિત્રો જોયા કરે. કે નવા નવા ચિત્રો લઈને આવ્યા છે તો નજર તમારે નથી જોવા. You have to look at camera and you have to speak orally. You have to look deep in camera. So when people watch it online, they will find that well you are having conversation with the watcher. When you will watch your video, you will find that sometimes you are sitting in corner and doing something. The camera is focusing, but you are reading things. When you answer the question, also you are reading. So people will get a doubt that it is all scripted question answer. You already told somebody, ask me this, my answer is ready, and I am reading my answer also. So that you don't have to do. You don't have to learn from the politicians who do scripted interviews. It should be extempore question, and you should be looking in camera or at the audience when you give answer. So don't read. This is what you have to do throughout your presentation also. So reading is a different skill, a different thing. Presentation is a different thing. In presentation, slides are for audience. It is not for the speaker. Speaker has to look at the audience and keep on talking about it. Yes, and I will check it out. Mulraj also need to improve. You also have to speak a lot and improve your reading. I think this semester you improve the reading one. Those who are good in reading, you improve oral presentation. Look at camera and try to make oral presentations. Mittal also did well. You have also you have to use gesture and honors. One great chain of being you are making presentation on. Don't use university logos in your presentations. Avoid using that. When you are representing university in some seminar conference, then you can use, but not without that. And Sagar's presentation also was good on Holinshed's Chronicle and what changes are made, and good points were brought by Sagar in that. Especially the character of Banco, the way he is whitewashed. He had a significant role to play in murder of King Duncan, but in Macbeth's play, he is whitewashed. He is unaware. He is innocent. And the connection is with political flattery. James I, who was the ruler after Elizabeth, when this play was performed. He was coming from Scotland, and he was in line with Banquo. So it would be dangerous for Shakespeare to connect a murderer's grandchild as the king. So the whitewashing might have happened. That is how many people have seen that. If Holinshed is very clearly writing that Banquo was aware about the murder plan, why Macbeth is not showing that part. When you put research question, your conclusion should match with research question. Whatever you are concluding, that should match with research question. So that is what you have to answer in your concluding side, your hypothesis and research question. In between, everything should be about explaining that particular thing with illustrations and examples. Cite primary source also. If you are referring to Absalom and Achitophel, cite that also. Macbeth also, it should always be cited along with another sources also. Very quickly, I would like to share that what is the purpose of presentations, the exams of presentations, what is the learning outcome and objectives for this, so that you can keep this in mind when you deal with other presentations. So what are the objectives of presentations and what sort of learning outcomes are expected from the students in this. So first thing, we have to see what is the difference between assessment and evaluation, and we will discuss in line with Bloom's taxonomy in action, where it speaks about mastering higher order thinking skills, HOTs. The opposite is LOT, lower order thinking skills. And along with that, digital skills through presentations, live streaming, commenting in YouTube, evaluation, online form, that all is the part of the digital skilling. So first, the difference between assessment and evaluation. Assessment is to increase quality. So whenever you are appearing in online test after all the units or blog writing or these presentations, this is not to judge that you are a grade student or D grade student. That is done by university exam. It is known as evaluation. University exam is an evaluation where you are given a mark sheet and you are told you are distinction, you are first class, second class, third class, you pass, you fail. But then you will never come to know why this happened or how this happened. Why your friend got so many marks, why you got less marks. When we get less and friend get more, then only we have questions. When we get more and the others get, then we don't have any questions. Our questions are always this, that why our friends are getting more, why. You students never come to know, because that is evaluation. It judges the thing. Internal assessment is not like that. Here everything is transparent. Everybody is observing everybody. We do live streaming also. So if you want to watch morning, if your parents want to see, if they have any grudges that there is a bias against my child, and then they can watch video. They can watch video of everybody, and they can also judge that to where does their children stand for. So there is all transparency. This is not in university exam. It is not possible also in that exam. So both the things are different. It is doing evaluation. It gives one mark sheet and it judges. Whereas this is to increase the quality. This is not to pass judgment on who is better or not. Everybody has to improve. But we have to improve from wherever we are, one step further. Everybody. So I don't have to say that I am better in this group. But wherever I am, how can I improve from here? So it is assessment. It is known as assessment, where we try to increase the quality by doing discussion and other things there. And this is Bloom's taxonomy, which is used. Now we'll see, remember is at the bottom. That is memory part. In Bloom's taxonomy, memory is not very much valued. What is valued is your creative ability. So if you can only memorize the thing, it is not good. But whatever remembering is necessary, because when you have to work on something, you should remember something also. So that, but it is bottom only. It is just a beginning. If you are very good in remembering, you are lower order thinker, LOT. And there are lots of people there. There are lots of people there. HOTs are very less. HOTs are the creators. If you can understand, then you can apply, then you can analyze, you can evaluate, and then you can create. Then you are higher order thinker. That is how we have to climb this pyramid there. So in presentations, what we do, bottom two are remembering and understanding things. So when creating a PowerPoint presentation, students need to recall information from their research and class materials to include in their slides. So when the classroom discussion happened, you might have taken some notes that you take help of, and then you do research. You go to Gestor, you go to Taylor and Francis honors platform. That is the researching part. And then you combine the things and then you present. So you require recalling only to that level what was discussed in the class. That is your springboard. And you have to take a flight from there. And then you go into open internet resources, gather the material, and then you prepare the thing. So memory is required only at that level as a springboard. Then your researching skill becomes very important there. This involves remembering key concepts, facts, and details related to the topic. So your basic understanding is important. Like when you talk about great chain of being or ambition, you have understood the concept, that how you have to see those things. That is fine. Now you go beyond that. Understanding means to effectively communicate their ideas. Student must understand the content they are presenting. This involves explaining concepts in their own words, breaking down complex ideas, and ensuring the audience can comprehend the information provided. Even in question and answer, we try to see this, that are you able to answer the question fairly well or not, or you fumble. Your presentation slide has good content, but a simple question you are not able to answer. It means that you know the things, but you cannot explain to other people. If you have understood, you can explain. So in question and answer, if you can talk in a better way, then this is proved that you have comprehended the idea in a proper manner also. Next two, after the bottom two, apply and analyze. Applying means creating a PowerPoint presentation requires students to apply their knowledge of organizing information, selecting relevant visuals. So I was talking about pictures, images, graphic that you put. So how you are designing from your first slide to last slide. Everything should have one theme. Now you are aware about symbolic significance of colors, of visuals, the beginning picture, the ending picture, that all you have to now use here. So you are applying your understanding of literary sensibilities. That this is my, it will have this color combination. It will have this way of suggesting that my theme is this, and this is how I am putting my visuals, graphics, and colors. Formatting slides effectively. Radhika, we told you that you have to format your slides properly. They must apply what they have learned to create a coherent and engaging presentation. That is where you apply the thing. Analyze. Students can demonstrate their analytical skill by critically examining the topic they are presenting. So whatever you have read, you can agree, you can disagree with that. You may say that I read this article, but this point I disagree with, and my point of view is this. That way also you can present. Or you can say that I see it in this manner and I find an agreement with this article also. So that is you're analyzing the thing. What you are doing, what other people have done, you agree, disagree, that you are presenting them. This could involve identifying patterns, making connections between different pieces of information, or analyzing the significance of key concepts within the context of the presentation. Then the top two, create and evaluate. Finally, evaluating. Here we try to see other things also beyond the presentation thing, and that is how you are going to evaluate peer and self evaluation, the form that you are going to fill. So how you will apply your brains, whether you will take it seriously and try to think who has done better, let me give them 5 points, then who has done lesser better than those 4 points, even lesser than that 3 points. I think once you come here and present, you deserve at least 3 points. Once you come and present, means you have courage enough to come prepare presentation and you can read your presentation, means you deserve 3 points. Now, beyond that, if you are able to give good question answer, confidently speaking the thing, then 4 and 5 point can be given. But nobody should get less than 3 points. You should not be that strict on anybody that you give less than 3 points to the other people. So how you evaluate, how will you apply? And you will see that evaluation is not an easy task. It is very difficult task. It is very stressful also. If you recall and remember, it becomes a burden of guilt also. કદાચ રાત્રે સુવા પણ ન દે કે આને આપણે કાપી નાખ્યા અને ખોટા માર્ક આપણે ઓછા આપ્યા, તો એ ગિલ્ટ તરીકે રહે. જો તમે બરાબર સાંભળ્યું હોય, નોટ કરી હોય અને ઇવેલ્યુએટ કરતા હો, તો it is a very stressful situation through which we have to constantly pass throughout the day. When we do evaluation, we have to pass through that stress that how am I evaluating, how will I judge everybody on these parameters also. So that is what you have to learn. You do your evaluation also in context of everybody, and you evaluate other people also. And then creating. Finally, students can showcase their creativity by designing visually appealing slides, incorporating multimedia elements. Now you can have icons and emojis also from generative AI with whatever you want to present. So now you have a good choice of having a good visual appeal in your presentation. And then presenting ideas in innovative ways also. So how innovatively you present your ideas, that also can be interesting to see. Students may also propose new solutions, generate original ideas, or develop unique insights during the presentation process. And you don't have to see that if your point of view is wrong, will I fail? No, you are not going to fail. Here nobody fails. So here you are free to explore your ideas. Whatever way you want to connect and present yourself, you can present. You can do this here. You can't do this in university exam. There you have to write what is right. There you can't write, and people will say that you don't know. So you are doing gappa baji. Here you can do gappa baji. In presentation, you can think in whatever wild manner, and you can connect with any damn thing also, but not in written exam. That's why these all things are different. This gives you a space to explore your imagination, your critical abilities, everything. You are free to do. You can't do this in exams. In exam, you have to follow the pattern of writing the answers and other things also. So that way you can generate original ideas. You can go beyond the given limits in the presentations also. So this way, once you do that, you are at creation. You all are creating PowerPoint slides. You are creating the trajectory of your presentation also. So you are working at this level, at the topmost level, where there is no burden of memorizing anything, because it is take-home exam. You can refer to any internet resource and you can prepare. So there is no burden on memory. In university exam, there will be burden on memory. Everything you have to memorize, and then you have to write. You can't take help of anybody or anything. If you take help, it is called cheating. Here it is not considered cheating. Here it is considered collaboration. Here you will be collaborating. You sit together, help each other. When your things are done, you help other people to complete the thing. Here it is collaboration. If you do this in exam, it is called cheating. You may be thrown out of the university exam to help other people. So you can't say that we were taught to do collaboration, but that is not the right place to do collaboration. There you have to. So this way, all exams are of different nature. What you can do at one place, you can't do at other place. There are different ways that things are judged also. So ultimate learning outcome or key takeaways we can take in this 6 manners. There will be enhanced understanding of the topic that you deal with. Critical thinking skills can also be tested here. Your communication skills also, it is only during this 5 days that we come to know who has a good ability to speak, who cannot speak. Otherwise in classroom, we never get that chance. Only a few will be speaking in the class, but some of you normally remain silent or absent also. Not only silent, but absent also. When there is turn to speak, you remain absent. So now here, that's why we make it this provision that everybody will remain present. We will start only after all are present, and we will stay until the last one. People will not say, my turn is done, let me go. Yeah, it won't be like that, that you can come anytime, you can go anytime. It is not carnival festival that you can move across the room anytime, but you have to sit and listen also. You have to keep your water bottle here ready. You're not supposed to time and again go outside there. But here only you have to listen and see what other people are doing. Whatever good points you get from any other presentation, you are supposed to pick it up and try to apply in your presentation. Creative expressions, how you are doing, how others are doing, that also you observe. Research skills, how well you are finding good resource material, that also we try to see what is your resource material, what you are picking up, so that helps in doing the research skill. In future, when you will be going for PhD and other things, this research skill will be very useful to you. And then collaboration, working in groups, working together, teamwork, that all also one can enhance from this. So remember, presentations are for assessment. We want to increase the quality of wherever we are, and we'll get 20 days in 2 years. 5 days here, then another 5, and then likewise we'll get 20 days. And we want to say that after this 20 days of work, you all will have good confidence about speaking anything. Anywhere anybody says that go and speak, make a presentation, you say just give me 10 minutes, presentation will be ready. And you can present the things. That ability you all will have after 20 days of working rigorously in this manner. So that is how we will improve our quality. And university exams are for evaluation. It is a different game altogether, where chances of improvement are very less. The chances of improvement are in our presentations and the classroom discussions and the thing that we constantly keep on doing that. Okay? So these are the objectives of why we want to have presentations in a particular way, and there we keep several such things that you make a PPT, submit in Google Classroom, live streaming is going on, you comment in YouTube, then you do peer self-evaluation, then timestamp and everything. So it is all a package of things where lot many things we are learning as a different part of Bloom's taxonomy to be learned also. Okay, so with this we end today's session, and wish you all the best for upcoming days, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, and we hope that you will keep on improving the quality of your presentations.